What is socially accepted when you're beautiful, but not accepted when you're ugly? Story 1. Deliberately opening the sleeping pod of a hot girl during a long trip to colonize a new planet after your own hibernation was interrupted when your pod malfunctioned. Story 2. Being the strong, silent type only works if you're handsome. People don't want to explore if there's any depth to you if you're not aesthetically pleasing. Story 3. Winking seductively, I would say. I do agree with others, though. Just about everything is socially unacceptable if you're ugly. Wink with both of your eyes at the same time to double the allure. Story 4. Oh my gosh, I eat so much. I ate like an entire bag of chips. It's funny, but when you're actually fat, it's like, yeah, no duh, loser. Story 5. Not a popular opinion, but from watching drama within my friend group, cheating. Average guys cheat, girl dumps him and never thinks about him again. Hot guy cheats, girl says it's over but is dating him again within a month or two. Probably not many people would admit it. They'll all say cheating is unacceptable regardless of looks, but as far as I've seen, their actions tell another story. You have shallow people in your life. Story 6. Being quiet or introverted. If you're attractive, then you're cute or sweet or reserved. If you're ugly, then you're awkward, creepy, or have no life. Story 7. Dressing down for an occasion. For example, hot guy can wear jeans to a semi-formal event and pull it off. Looks fine, no worries. Ugly guy wears jeans to a semi-formal event and he looks lazy and underdressed. To be honest, I think this also correlates greatly with how the clothes fit. In my stereotypical vision, the attractive dude wears jeans that fit well. Then the ugly dude just wears whatever his mom bought him. People often don't seem to understand how much properly fitting clothes contribute to being attractive. Story 8. Just being nice in general. Lol. When I was in high school, there was this guy named James, and everyone always blasted him for his appearance, how annoying and creepy he was, etc. I tried to be nice to him, but I'd be lying if I said I enjoyed his presence. One day in class, I was talking about how I felt insecure that day, and he said, "Don't feel that way, you're beautiful." And I said thank you, but everyone else around us laughed. A more attractive guy in the same class called a friend of mine beautiful, and everyone says, "Aw, so sweet, you guys should date." I don't know what happened to James after high school, but I hope he's doing well. Nobody deserves that kind of treatment. Story 9. Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy said it best. Ugly people are lucky. When someone loves them, they know it's because of what's on the inside. Beautiful people can never really tell. Story 10. Saying you're ugly. If you're actually ugly, you just end up making everyone uncomfortable. If you're beautiful, people tend to fall all over themselves trying to reassure you that you're beautiful. I'm ugly. Anyone? Just a quick side note, if you like our content and love listening to our stories, please press the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you get updates from our uploads. And now back to the stories. Story 11. Being a criminal sometimes. I remember when that beautiful convict guy was floating around the internet for a while, the one that got the modeling contract. He recently did a show where he worked for a big designer. Story 12. Bothering people who are reading. After years of sitting in coffee shops reading, I realized I was curt with anyone who tried to engage me in conversation unless they were an attractive girl. That's a great test though. If you want to know how attractive you are objectively, just interrupt someone reading and see how they respond. Story 13. Wearing more revealing clothes or out-of-date clothing. If an ugly guy wears 80s or 90s clothing, people will think he shops at Value Village. If a good-looking guy does it, he's considering a vintage dresser. Same with wearing clothes that are pushing the limits of fashion. Story 14. Taking your shirt off. Story 15. Be persistent in pursuit of your crush, at least in movies anyway. I've seen this one posted a few times already here, and I feel it's more something people get away with in movies, and people in movies tend to be more good-looking than average people. I assure you, behavior that becomes stalker-like sucks regardless of how attractive the guy is. Story 16. Being dumb. Stereotypical dumb blonde or musclehead, you've still got your looks. Ugly and dumb, you're double screwed, man. To give a somewhat serious answer, boasting of your prowess. Story 17. People are psychologically more inclined to believe someone good-looking is skillful at whatever they're claiming to be good at, despite no evidence. In fact, there's something called the halo effect that says along with beauty come all sorts of other positive characteristics. We have a tendency to think beautiful people are funnier, more friendly, more intelligent, more exciting, in possession of better social skills, warmer, more interesting, poised, and even more independent. Story 18. My sister and I call ourselves Princess Diary Pretty because we have frizzy curly hair, but when straightened, we clean up nice. We tried an experiment for 2 weeks. Week 1, wear sweats, no hair straightening, and no makeup. Week 2, wear cute outfits, straighten hair, do makeup, and wear perfume. I wish we had filmed because the difference in the way we were treated was insane, by men and women. Week 1, people would let doors slam in my face, treated me meanly, and didn't notice me. Week 2, everyone smiled at me, held doors, called me honey, and got invited out with coworkers. I even had my coffee and donut paid for. Anyone who says that looks don't matter is living in a fantasy world. Story 19. This super hot girl farted once in my high school class. People thought it was hilarious, and some of the football players hugged her and thought it was awesome. Later that year in English class, an overweight girl let a ripper go and was mocked and ridiculed and was being told she was disgusting. Story 20. Weirdly, being polite to the opposites. I'm generally a very polite and friendly person. When I was fat, men would constantly go out of their way to make sure I knew they had no interest, even though I hadn't given any hint of being interested and was already in a relationship. Lost weight after high school and my freshman year of university. People who didn't give me the time of day in high school went out of their way to talk to me and stay in touch via social media. Story 21. Narcissism and shallowness. There's a ton of vitriol directed at unattractive women who spend a lot of time on their appearance, putting makeup on a pig. Unless you're naturally attractive, there's this idea that you shouldn't even bother trying to look nice because who do you think you're fooling? You'll always be ugly, so just accept your ugliness. You see it a lot directed at heavy women on this site because other people don't find you attractive. People feel like you don't deserve to feel or find yourself attractive. Meanwhile, hot girls can spend an inordinate amount of time on their appearance, documenting their appearance with very little pushback. People like looking at them, so it's okay they like looking at themselves so much too. I'm sure more good-looking people get away with personalities. Story 22. Flirting. It's basically harassment if you're ugly. I worked with a guy who was basically an adult Pugsley Adams. The dude was ugly. Oddly enough, he had a very attractive wife. Came in one day to find out he'd been fired for harassment. His, I thought, innocent, "you look nice today" style comments that apparently made the women in the office feel uncomfortable. Never mind the fact that he was married and just being nice, in my opinion. Meanwhile, 2 rows away, a different colleague had slept with half of the eligible women in the office and flirted shamelessly with the rest. Not only did they put up with it, but they also brought him Starbucks. The only difference? He was attractive. Story 23. Being weird. People will tolerate a great deal of weirdness, strangeness, and psycho behavior from an attractive person, whereas these traits would be unforgivable in an ugly person. There was a social experiment conducted where a catfish profile of a beautiful blonde was created. When guys talked to her, the catfishers responded with the weirdest, bizarre, off-the-wall, creepy answers, but guys still kept pursuing. People will tolerate a lot of weirdness if it comes alongside hotness. It's being quirky versus being, what's wrong with him or her? Story 24. Going on about how inner beauty is more important than outer beauty. If you're attractive and say this, you're humble and empowering, but if you're ugly and say it, you're just seen as whining. Story 25. Being socially forward. Interrupting people while talking, hitting on people, giving unsolicited advice, etc. Being attractive gives you an automatic +4 to charisma. Story 26. Perhaps not entirely what the question asked, but I need to get this off my chest. About 10 years ago, I was asked to come for an interview for selling Bose speakers at one of their B2B outlets. It was an entirely professional deal, and the HR guy on the phone could not stress enough how important knowledge about sound systems was. So I go in and only one other guy shows up. We assume they need more people, so we both fancy our chances. Only thing is, this guy has no idea how speakers work, no idea what or who Bose is, and displayed a generally carefree attitude. At least he was wearing a shirt and not a polo with his jeans and sneakers. I got called first, and my interview went on for over 30 minutes, getting grilled about all things imaginable and then some more. I was pretty confident about the material, because I knew that stuff, and I thought it went really well. So I come out, and this guy's bricks because he did not realize this was a serious job interview. We had built up some rapport while waiting, so when he asked me if I could wait for him for some moral support, we were headed back to the same area too. I said okay. His interview lasted 5 minutes. He walked out with an offer letter. All they asked him was his name and his background. I was politely asked to reapply after 12 months. This guy was equally confused. He was not a scumbag, in fact. He was a really nice guy. But even when you're selling high-end conference room sound systems to people who have no time to even listen to your pitch, Bose wanted good looks over skills. Did I mention this guy looked like a cross between Christopher Reeve and Elvis Presley? Story 27. Anything nerd culture. Like actual nerd culture, like playing MTG, D&D, and watching anime. Girls aren't going to care if a decent-looking guy does any of that, but they will hard stereotype a dude if he's overweight and or doesn't take good care of himself. That skinny kid with greasy hair that likes anime? What a weeb. Oh, but that handsome guy who watches the same stuff is cool. The chubby fat guy playing Warcraft is a loser, but the hot girl playing just has such an interesting character. Story 28. Has anyone here read any of the 50 Shades books? Rich plus handsome equals literally a free pass on anything. If the guy in 50 Shades of Grey had a beer belly and the movie took place in a trailer park, there would be a far different sentiment about the movie. Yeah, because then I'd actually watch it. Story 29. I'm a recruiter, so I can speak from experience when saying that if you're young and good-looking, you'll have a much better chance at getting the job, regardless of experience. Story 30. Conversation or small talk, I guess. This just happened recently to a friend. Matched a girl on Tinder who looked very attractive in her photos. They had hour-long phone conversations and day-long texting conversations. Went to go meet her for the first time and he felt catfished. Apparently she was much larger than the pictures led. I told him you gotta expect that a bit, but he says it was a crazy amount, like he felt tricked. Anyway, after knowing she was not very attractive, he said she was awful at conversations, very boring, and asked the same repetitive questions to not let a conversation die. Looking back in his old texts, she was always awful at conversation. Him too, to be fair. But he was never bored when he thought it was a really hot girl asking about his day at work, or his college program, etc. There's a great article out there that completely backs this up. A journalist posted pictures of her incredibly attractive female friend on a dating site. She made her personality as horrendous as possible. The men didn't care, as long as she was hot. Story 31. I used to live in San Francisco. Years ago, maybe still today, I don't know, the cable car operators, the brakeman and conductor, were always strong young men. The brakeman position, especially, requires a lot of upper body strength. They had a sort of elitist attitude about being cable car men. A lot of times, they affected a sort of 1890s look, with a handlebar mustache, etc., all part of the fun. These guys would notoriously let pretty girls ride for free. All the girls had to do was give the crew a smile. It was a thing, in the 1970s especially, among young women and teenage girls. Sort of a little inside joke. I'm pretty enough to ride the cable cars for free. This was before waiting lines and carnival ride bullshit, back when the cable cars cost a quarter and regular people occasionally used them for regular transportation, instead of like now where the cable cars are like some Walt Disney amusement ride. I had a girlfriend back then who was a beautiful amateur ballet dancer. She danced in the chorus, but she was very talented and in excellent shape. The day she finally got asked to pay her fare on the cable cars, she was 24, was an awful day for her. She was inconsolable and cried all day. She felt like she was over the hill and that her beauty and youth were gone. It was very sad. So back in the day, beautiful girls didn't pay for cable car rides. Story 32. Bad at your job. I worked with a guy called Fabio. He was early 40s with kind of long wavy hair, a handsome face, looked like someone modeled a statue of a Roman general after him. The guy was terrible at his job. Every time I went to his desk, he was watching movies. When he left, we discovered 6 months of work he just straight up didn't do. He worked hard for about 2 years, built up a reputation for being a good worker, and then promptly coasted on that reputation and his good looks. Dude used to do that hair flip thing when talking with women, and they'd practically go all Elvis fans over him. Story 33. Apparently, cheating. Know a girl that's very, very attractive. She was cheating on her boyfriend. Her one friend wholly supported it, said, "Sometimes someone better just comes along." My friend seemed to think it was no big deal either. One said, "At the end of the day, the most anyone can say about cheating is that it's wrong." My wife seemed to want to give the girl the benefit of the doubt, said, "We can't consider her the bad guy here. We don't know her whole story. Maybe her current boyfriend is a..." Ask your wife how she would react if you cheated on her and told people that. Story 34. Being lazy and unemployed or working a low-paying job. Attractive people tend to get the "they're finding their way in life" excuse, as though the only reason they're working at KFC is to afford their modeling and sports career. Others just get, "they need to stop being so fat and lazy and get a real job. I bet they eat all the chicken and have no friends, etc., etc." People are judgmental. Story 35. The problem of someone's attractiveness clouding your judgment about them is self-reinforcing. As a dude, I've noticed social pressure to avoid treating a hot girl as anything but an angel. Even if she's an awful person and deserves to be called out in something, I'll get flack for doing it in the following manners. A. Come on, man. She doesn't deserve that. You're being too harsh. B. Why aren't you trying to impress her? Are you gay? Lol. But then, maybe if I was more attractive, people would take my criticisms of attractive people more seriously. Not sure if it makes a difference, but I asked Reddit how attractive I was once on an alt a while ago. I was told, average, but probably above average if you were better dressed. Story 36. Letting yourself go a little. What I mean is, a beautiful man can let his hair get shaggy, go a week or two without shaving, and bum around in jeans and a t-shirt. He's so rugged. Look how carefree he is. An ugly man does the same thing, and he needs to put himself together. No wonder he doesn't have a girlfriend. A beautiful woman decides to bum around the house in sweats with virtually no makeup and her hair tied back because she's in no mood to actually put in the effort to do it today. After all, she's just hanging out at home with a cat this afternoon. She's a low-maintenance natural beauty. An ugly woman does the same thing, and she's a frumpy, lonely cat lady. Story 37. One night after a dinner date with my high school girlfriend, we were driving home when a bad stomachache hit her suddenly. She tells me to pull over immediately, hikes up her dress, squats, and blasts diarrhea all over the side of the road. If I wasn't so attracted to her, I would have thought it was disgusting. Story 38. I've noticed that when a male customer flirts with one of the girls at my work, his level of creepiness is directly related to how attracted they are to him. Story 39. Everything. I was blessed with a little bit of beauty, but for every ounce I didn't have, I had to fill with charisma. My sister was born hot. She feels like the world should bow to her, and it does. It's been proven every single time I've ever been out with her. You have to work 3 times as hard to accomplish the same thing. Sometimes I fail. She has never once been denied anything. Story 40. As a woman who loves video games, I spend a lot of time gaming and streaming. Before I gained weight, viewers as a whole were a lot more friendly and willing to watch my stream. Now I have a health condition and I look pretty rough. I get virtually no views now. Story 41. This more specifically applies to weight, but it's considered extremely attractive to talk about how much food you eat, how much you love meat, carbs, cheese, junk food. If you're a thin person, more so if you're a thin and fit woman than a man. Take, for example, Jennifer Lawrence at the height of her popularity, gushing about how much she loved potatoes and bread and expounding on how she was obese by Hollywood standards, when in reality, she's probably skinnier than 90% of the people you've ever encountered in your life, and how people celebrated this, saying she was down to earth. If Melissa McCarthy went on about how she loved cheese and potatoes, she'd probably be portrayed as having no shame or being gross. Story 42. Public displays of affection. If two beautiful people kiss and or make out in a public setting, very few people are going to bat an eye. It's aesthetically pleasing, almost like a scene from a movie. If Jabba the Hutt and the Wicked Witch are making out, there's going to be disgust and interruption. If you want to get a little risky with your couple life and you get caught in the act, you're much more likely to catch a public indecency, or worse, charge if you're an unattractive couple. Story 43. I am generally considered an unattractive woman, and can tell you that I or we don't get away with being playful or flirtatious. We are expected to know our place and not make men feel awkward by being friendly towards them, or, God forbid, playfully flirting. We're also not supposed to try to look good, because we should know that there's no point to it, but we can't let ourselves look unkempt either, because then we're lazy and slovenly. Story 44. Your courtship experiences vary widely. He tracked me down and showed up at my doorstep this morning with my fave pumpkin latte. How romantic. Versus, I'm calling the cops, you creepy stalker. He's so shy, it's so cute. Versus, he never talks. He's weird and creepy. He went to a comic book convention? Such a nerd. So cute. Versus, he went to a comic book convention? The neckbeard. Lives with his parents? Aw, he must really care about family. Versus, he still lives with his parents? What a loser. Story 45. Back when I worked a crappy customer service job at CVS, I would always treat every customer with the utmost respect and ask them how their day was going and if they found all of their items okay. Being generally low on the attractiveness scale, every time I did this to a female customer age 30 and below or so, they would always act as if I was just full on hitting on them and give off a, how dare this guy think he can actually talk to me type of body language. A lot of the time they wouldn't even reply and or give eye contact at all, and would fast walk out of the store once the transaction was finished. The irony behind that is that I'm gay. Story 46. As someone who has ranged from very obese to very trim over the years, I can definitely say that literally everything is different. When you're skinny and you eat a meal, people try to get you to eat more. When you're fat and you eat the same meal, people ask if you're on a diet. Strangers are nicer to you, most customer service is better, you get promoted faster. It's actually quite shocking to live the difference.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out this next video. The YouTube algorithm really thinks you like it.
What's classy if you're physically attractive, but trashy if you're not? It pains me to say it, but smoking. Those 1940s Hollywood noir film actresses looked so sultry with a cigarette. Plump and ugly with a cigarette is more reminiscent of a Walmart smoke break for some reason. It helps if you have perfectly coiffed hair as well. All smooth, not a strand out of place, and possibly gloves. It's not a dependency if she's wearing gloves, it's just a bad habit you can kick anytime. It's only touching her lips, not her fingers. She's not getting her fingers dirty. She's just getting intimate with passing, for it only touches her lips. It reminds her of her mortality, and thus, it reminds you of her mortality and how one day she'll be old and pass away and no longer as beautiful as she is now. And oh, how beautiful she is with that beautifully coiffed hair. Not an ash flaked into it. The first incarnation of an on-screen manic pixie dream girl. There's a quote from someone that goes, "Smoking isn't cool, but it doesn't help that a lot of cool people smoke. Cigars too, but in this case a suit or tuxedo helps." My now late maternal grandfather has never, to my knowledge, or my mother's knowledge, smoked a cigarette in his life. Yeah, we have a professional picture taken in a photography studio of him in a perfectly fitting suit holding a cigarette. Without the cigarette, the picture would have been very different and definitely not as good as it is. Cigarette producers were very clever in the way they projected this cool image of smoking in people's minds. You know, the easiest way to tell a smoker is just trying to recreate the coolness ritual they've been implanted with. They toss their cigarette butts everywhere, like on the street. You probably wouldn't think of just tossing your empty Starbucks cup in the street when you knew people were watching you. You realize how that would make you look. But you have to toss your cigarette butt like you don't give a damn. Because that's the cool ritual you've been programmed to want to reenact. Because you do give a damn. I used to think it's cool, but I've known a lot of people who've had lung cancers throughout the years, so no thanks. Story 2. The plot of almost all romance movies. I like to use what I call the Devito rule. If a romance movie becomes a horror movie by recasting the lead man as Danny Devito, it's a crappy example of a romance movie. If it's still a sweet movie, it's really romance. Not many movies pass this test. Also, not usually classified as such, but The Addams Family. That's one of the best relationships on film. And usually the passing ones are romantic movies where the guy's a prick and then learns to stop being such a jerk. Like Shallow Hal or As Good as It Gets. I'm struggling to come up with any recent ones, as Devito and A Change of Music make 50 Shades series or Passengers into terrifying horror movies. Back to the ones that passed, I haven't kept much of a list. I mostly use that test as a defense of why I generally dislike the genre. I know a lot of people would ask, so I think I might actually need to make a list. Out of the movies I've seen this year, Yuki Ono, the Snow Woman from Japan, passed I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore, arguably not a romance, and Warm Bodies. Out of the 56 movies I've seen this year, those are the only ones to qualify. If you extend beyond pure romance and accept romance B-plots, Baby Driver's romance isn't creepy. I'd love it if people would share other movies that qualify. If I can get a list going, I'll make a Tumblr page or YouTube video or something. Story 3. When you're attractive, it's being flirtatious, but when you're ugly, it's called being a creep instead. Honestly, the way that is phrased is misleading. It's not cause and effect. It's more that being a creep is forgivable if you're attractive. Flirting is about gauging interest. Creepiness means not noticing when someone is not interested. If you're attractive, people can still not be interested, or your approach can be too brutal without properly gauging interest first. That's, hey cutie, where you from? Versus, this one's on me. Insert vulgar comment here. The thing about being attractive is that even if you make a mistake, the other person is often still interested despite that. No, it's not going to lead to anything, but if you want casuals, you really don't have to meet any kind of standard beyond being intimately attractive to the other person. The song and dance is irrelevant if the interest is already there. It's just that the song and dance is used for both parties to indicate that interest, or lack thereof, to each other, and perhaps create interest that wasn't there before if your plumage is particularly shiny or if you have a nice pattern around your waist area. Surely there's a difference between creepy behavior and outright dirtbag or jerkish behavior, though. I always thought the archetypal creepy behavior was like hovering near you at the bar, giving you those long, excruciating looks, generally being lecherous and so on, more so associated with having very poor social skills. Dirtbag behavior, on the other hand, being along the lines of outright offensive comments or outlandishly inflated egos. Creepiness is still flirtatiousness. It's just that it's tactless and rude, since you don't actually know if the other person is interested and never bothered to find out. If you get lucky and they were interested, it's flirting. Speed dating 101. And like every other privilege, beauty privilege for both genders, doesn't happen 100% of the time, but more often than not. And for those times where it does not happen to apply, people who are used to those privileges tend to have outbursts. I feel like emotional intelligence in general is already game, you know? You don't have to be attractive. Story 4. Being straightforward on Tinder. Can confirm, I say absolutely ridiculous stuff to girls on Tinder because I find it hard to take it seriously. But a lot of times they're into it. When the two not-so-good-looking guys try this, hilarity ensues. 4 out of 6 guys in the house can pull it off. Example of an extremely stupid line that has worked. Hey, you're not a paleontologist, are you? No? Why? Because I have a very big bone for you to discover. Works 60% of the time. Every time. One of my best friends is a tall, ripped fitness model who lucked out and got 10 out of 10 face and hair genetics. He'll constantly advise younger guys to just be yourself, which is toxic nonsense. Go ahead and just be yourself if you're a literal 10 out of 10 model. You can say or do anything and get Tinder drabs all day. For most people, who they are naturally is entirely mediocre and they should focus on self-improvement, rather than deciding to embrace that mediocrity. Story 5. Getting out of a small car. Whether it's a Porsche or a Fiat, if you're attractive, you look natural and desirable stepping out. If you're ugly or large, you look like one of those last clowns falling out of a clown car. When I was about 20, a friend of mine bought a Lotus Elise. At the time, I was about 230 pounds, broad-shouldered, and just starting to lose my high school football build. I barely fit. He couldn't even take me for a ride because my legs were too tight against the center console and shoulders encroached on his seat. I used to have a picture of me and my buddy Tony, a 300-pound black guy, both sitting in that car. Said friend was about 5'5", 130 pounds, soaking wet. He popped out of that car cool as could be. I rolled out of the car looking like a buzzed moron. Also, my brother used to work at a Lexus dealership that would sometimes put other cars in the lot. He sold a Miata hardtop convertible to a little 4'6" old Einstein-looking guy. He was 6 foot and a big dude. He looked like a monkey hoisting a football smashed up against the steering wheel, jammed in a tiny cab with his old man sidekick. But on the other hand, if you get out of something big, you're equally judged, especially if you're not super attractive. They've got to be compensating. I'm 5'8" and a pretty average guy, if for no other fact that I'm in the Marines, and have a big Jeep as a daily driver. Off-roading is my hobby and my Jeep is built for it, MPGs. But some of the looks I get when I'm sitting at a red light? Story 6. Here's a few. Number 1. Winking. This brought back a hella weird memory for some guy winking at me in a mattress store. I don't know. A really self-aware, neutral, ugly person can pull off a wink better than a better-looking person, in my opinion. And there's no better place to act like a creep than in a mattress store. Jeez. Number 2. Messy hair. Actual messy hair looks pretty bad on really anyone, but if it is just messy enough to look like it's not styled, it can look good. Probably depends on the hair type too. Straight hair is always going to not look great if it's messy. However, I have very curly hair and pretty much let my hair do its own thing, and it looks pretty decent most of the time. It's either a cute bedhead or a sign of depression and bad hygiene. People think. Number 3. The entire plot of 50 Shades. This honestly reminds me of a meme I saw a while back. It went something like, 50 Shades is only romantic because he's a billionaire. If he was living in a trailer, it would be a Criminal Minds episode. I don't know if mere attractiveness will cut it as far as that plot goes. Number 4. Basically any bold move towards the opposite gender. Some girl posted something that I read a while back about how some guy at the gym approached her to compliment her. She said that at first she thought he was a creep, but after taking a good look at him, she was totally okay with it because she found him kinda cute. You should have seen the amount of negative replies she received. She was basically saying that if a guy isn't attractive but still flirts with a girl, it automatically makes him a creep. It's mean, but yet it is many people's first thought in that scenario. While it frustrates me, and I definitely know there's a million exceptions, I can at least understand the mindset. If some attractive guy is doing it, you can more safely assume he's more than capable of getting it whenever he wants. So therefore, if he's going to those lengths for you, he must really be into you. Whereas where an ugly guy does it, it's safe to assume he's probably coming from a more desperate place. Kinda cute equals initiative, kinda ugly equals desperation. Anyway, enjoying the video so far? Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so you wouldn't miss out on any of my upcoming videos. Story 7. Sending a drink to a random woman across the bar. Many shifts as a bartender, and when a less than good looking bloke wanted to do it, I said it was against policy to. I've never seen it end well unless the dude was really handsome. I was on a double date 3+ years ago. The other guy and I left the girls at the bar to play a round of arcade games. As we're playing, 3 guys walk in and see 2 apparently single women sitting at the bar. They order 5 shots of tequila and tell the bartender to leave it with the girls. I assumed they were planning on walking over as soon as the girls got the tequila, taking shots with them, looking all cool and desirable. Except, me and the other guy got back to the bar as soon as the shots arrived. The bartender didn't specify where they came from, so we each took a shot. Gave the 5th to the bartender and thanked him. He said, "Don't thank me, it's on those guys." And we looked behind him to see the 3 amigos looking like kids who just had recess canceled. Tried thanking them on the way out, but they just smiled sadly and nodded. I still feel bad about it to this day. But anyway, it's cringy no matter what. If you want to buy a woman a drink, go strike up a conversation. When her drink is empty, ask her if you can buy her another. It's simple. In my decade plus behind the bar, I never saw the gentleman over there would like to buy you a drink thing work, ever. I did see a lot of women go home with guys who they met and had a fun, genuine conversation with. Story 8. Hanging out with ugly people. It's so true. If you're attractive and hang out with ugly people, you just look like a well-rounded individual who's open to all types of company, including the uglies. Somebody once accused me of being friends with less attractive or heavier girls to make myself look better. I just like these particular women's personalities more. Their looks have nothing to do with it. There are plenty of ugly people I don't want to spend time with. It's absurd to make friends based on what other people will think. I was on the cusp of the D&D or magic type scene, played 40k, and you should see what happens to a guy or girl who's normally say a 5 out of 10 in that scene. They get swarmed on big time, especially the girls. Although weirdly you can be too attractive. If someone is a 7/10 plus, there will be instant suspicion of why they're there. I stopped playing Magic because every time I went, they would put my chair behind my exes and say, "That's where the cheerleaders sit." They made fun of me when I'd move my chair to the table and pull my deck out of my purse or asked if I knew what I was doing, why I was there, etc. Thank God my current boyfriend already knew cool people who wanted to play D&D, or I couldn't do that either. They say hanging out with ugly people makes you look more attractive, but I think it's a bit more complicated than that. The halo effect is real. I think if hanging out with one other person, it's best if they're ugly. If with 4+ people, you look better if they're all very good looking. The uglies? Excuse me? Story 9. Trench coats and or fedoras, at least to some extent. They've been ruined by neckbeards these days, but they have historically looked cool on attractive gentlemen. Trench coats lost popularity among men because their utilitarian nature is no longer needed. Cars and quick travel replace the need for protective all-day clothing with lots of pockets. But women will absolutely deal with unnecessary things in lieu of aesthetics. They're impractical in most of the country. They're great if you live in a city and travel via mass transit. They keep you warm and your clothes protected, and they have pockets and other features that make them very utilitarian. If you happen to have and use a car though, they're just a huge inconvenience. Also, wearing clothes that don't fit you well, and at the same time wearing way too big shirts. On attractive people, it looks like a fashion statement. I mean, anything can be a fashion statement in attractive people, and fashion is wholly decided by attractive people. Even plus-size fashion only looks good on the plus-size people with the right proportions. Story 10. Here's what I think. Those nice dresses that are practically open in the front to see full-on chesties. Had a friend post pictures of herself in one and she looked like a goddess. If I wore that, I'd look like a trailer park girl. A 4-day beard. If you're a male model, you look like a manly man. If you're Bubba Six-Pack, you look like a homeless dude. Any kind of bold makeup. Red lip or heavy bronzer, bright eyeshadow, etc. I mean, heavy makeup can look good on a conventionally unattractive person if they have the skill to make it look good. Then you don't notice that they're unattractive. I do a lot of beauty photography, and while super dramatic makeup might look really good on models, you put that crap on me and I'll look like a drag queen clown. It's super fun to do creative makeup, but I just try to enjoy it on other people. Being an alcoholic. Classy drinking, alluring drinking, not this trailer park crap. This also comes down to wealth. It looks classy to open a nice crystal decanter and pour a glass of expensive brandy at 2 in the afternoon. Cracking open a PBR at that time is trashy looking. Story 11. Cosplay. On a small con, a friend and I met a couple of girls cosplaying as Callie and Marie from Splatoon. Long story short, my friend wanted to get with Marie, but ended up with Callie, who's a really nice girl but not as pretty though. After that, his brother kept teasing him about if the next time he'll introduce Squidwardette to their parents. Sadly, if you're not good looking, cosplaying is like putting yourself a target for burns and jokes, unless you go for the armor or just doing something silly. So I'm normally a 3 out of 10 if I'm being generous, but I really wanted to cosplay at my local con. I had previously bought a Guy Fawkes mask, and since I stayed with women, there were some wigs here and there, so I decided to go as V from V for Vendetta. I thought the costume was bad at the time I got it done. But when I go to the con, I was bombarded by picture requests and handshakes. It was like a window into the good life of an attractive person. My friend and I went to a big con again in my area that had all levels of cosplay. He chose to cosplay as the 11th Doctor because he's a white nerd. It's easy to pull off because he just wears clothes and a recognizable variety of hats. He was getting a fair amount of attention because he bears a very passing resemblance to the actor, in as much as he's a white guy with short hair and a longish neck. You feel bad for some of the cosplayers who had put way more effort into their costumes but weren't getting as much attention, either because they were more obscure characters or that, despite the effort, their costumes just didn't come out well. Or maybe they didn't have the right body type or they weren't the most attractive. We were standing in line at one point, hoping the food cart still had a few greasy dogs for us to get a nibble of, and there was a guy in the line just a few spots ahead of us who was dressed as the 10th Doctor. He was a bit broad-shouldered and heavy-set for the role, round-faced enough that you might have had to do a double-take to think of who he was playing. While we were in line, we had 3 different people chat us up and ask for pictures with him, which he was happy to do. I thought about it after a minute and felt bad for the dude just ahead of us. He put more effort into his costume, you could tell. Had everything down to the 2 long laces and red Converse. He was mostly in character too, while my friend decidedly wasn't. We struck up a conversation with him and decided, you know what? My friend will get a picture with him, and the next person who comes up to us, I'll see if they want to get a picture of them together. But he said he wasn't there for the attention really, but because he just loved it. Not to say we were there solely for attention, but I found it the most rewarding part. The rest of the con, I kind of made it a point to talk to the people that I thought put a noticeable amount of effort into their stuff, even if it wasn't quite right. Maybe it came across as patronizing and maybe I was doing it for the wrong reasons. Who knows? But we really enjoyed our time there and the talks we had. The world is superficial. Whether we like it or not, it has been the truth and will always be the truth. Story 12. An accent from anywhere in America. If you're good looking, it's alluring or sweet. If you're rich, it makes you seem genuine. If you're broke and or unfortunate looking, you're just a dumb hick and the accent is proof. A little clarification. Yes, I'm from Ohio, and no, I don't mean just southern accents. I live and grew up in the dead center of Ohio where accents literally come to pass, so I'm sensitive to them all. From the up north states and the nasally almost Canadian accent to the northeastern, also nasal accent with their allergy to the letter R, to California's laid-back enunciated drawl. And yes, the slow southern drawls. The above applies. My grandparents are from West Virginia and I love hearing their accents. Hearing them discuss washing, the car and changing the Earl is like grilled cheese and tomato. Tomato. Soup for my ears. Accents fare pretty well in Ohio bars. You become an instant object of fascination. If you're attractive, you're exotic and true to your roots. If you're ugly, you need to go back to your country or learn English because America. And lastly, pretty much anything you do, to be honest. People joke, but this is honestly what it boils down to. Also, a lot of things people define as cringy could be suave or funny if you look more like Chris Evans and less like a chewed Muppet. Physically attractive but socially awkward people, what's your story? People keep thinking I'm flirting with them when I just try to be nice. I'm not sure what to do. When I talk to a guy that I don't know very well who lets me know very quickly he has a girlfriend, others drop that they're single. When I was a student, I had an administrative issue and I've been advised to survey my professors to ask their opinion on the situation. One of them was popular and very loved by students. The day I came into his office to explain my situation, after getting an appointment, he answered that it was inappropriate to come like this into his office and didn't say anything on my issue. I was very embarrassed and questioned what weird message I could convey. I was polite and calm, so I didn't understand what happened. I understand months later that I have very expressive eyes and people are affected by the looks I gave somehow or other. I'm not conscious of it, but I heard many times that my eyes talk enough despite being laconic or not chatty. Well, they don't always send the right message, apparently. I don't count anymore the occasions where a guy was flirting with me, but I didn't know. When I talked about these moments with my friends, they said to open my freaking eyes. Well, did you? Story 2. I often hear, "You're very handsome," or "X thinks you're pretty or good looking." I think they fancy you. From people I have and had absolutely no idea. If I notice someone looking at me in public, I assume I have something on my face or get paranoid. Not that they're checking me out. I can't take compliments without coming across as arrogant. I'm not being arrogant, I'm just flustered in how to respond. I don't consider myself very attractive and I can't flirt or approach someone I find attractive, but as someone else has said, sometimes people think I'm flirting when I'm just trying to make conversation. To be honest, I don't even know what flirting is at this point. Story 3. My wife. Oh man. She's a reasonably attractive woman, 40, well put together and super charming and funny. She's so awkward though. She's like a personification of that awkward penguin meme. Someone, "Good afternoon," my wife. Good, you?" Followed by a 2-second pause, then embarrassed giggling. For a woman as cute as she is, she's never been able to do a sexy thing in her life on purpose. She always stops mid-attempt and just starts giggling like she's 8 and someone said the word hot dog. We'll be out and dudes are constantly flirting with her and she's completely oblivious. We don't wear wedding rings and if I leave her alone for a minute, someone will be chatting with her and she just has no idea what's going on. She's constantly being checked out and is totally in the dark. It's literally the only way I was able to get her because she's so oblivious to how cute and charming she can be. She's just too awkward to know better. And if any of you fill her in on my scam, it's your bum. She's all yours, man. She's all yours. Story 4. Totally ugly duckling here. I was fat and didn't take care of my appearance all throughout high school. Moved out of my parents' house and lost a ton of weight and started wearing clothes that fit. Turns out I'm pretty handsome now. Problem is, I didn't learn any of the social things you're supposed to learn in high school. I can't flirt, I can't ask anyone out, and I don't know how to make a move or show interest. I've had a woman come up and start dancing on me at a show and I have no idea what to do. I literally start getting a mild anxiety attack. I feel like I'm broken as a person, but hey, at least I'm an attractive broken person, even if I'll most likely never get to sleep with anyone. Story 5. I'm an exceptionally bad conversationalist. I can't do small talk at all. It prematurely ended a lot of potential relationships for me. It's a bit of a depressing cycle. At this point, I'm very used to attracting women based on my physical appearance, and then having them ghost out after a few days or weeks because I come off as if I have no personality. No one's ever been honest enough to just outright tell me that I'm boring, and I don't know if I appreciate the politeness or resent it. In reality, I like to think that I'm a pretty entertaining and interesting person. I'm an extreme extrovert, and it takes me an exceptionally long time to open up to people. The only people I'm ever myself around are family that I've grown up with all my life, or a few close friends that I've known for years. For those people, I'm a cut-up, life-of-the-party type. Hopefully, witty, and easy to talk to. Everyone else, I'm the quiet guy. If they go out of their way to get to know me, I come off as distant and standoffish. For the ones that are interested enough to fight through that, they see that after a few weeks or months, I'm still pretty closed off. Most people give up after that. Relationship-wise, I feel like I have a lot to offer, but my social awkwardness constantly sabotages it. I just never know what to say. I think too hard about what I'm going to say, and all too often it results in me not saying anything. Relatable. Story 6. Pretty much what you would expect. Lots of not very good, not very long relationships. Puberty came very late for me, but with many physical gifts. My frizzy hair became shiny curls, my somewhat globular figure became a knockout bod. I was still so insecure and lonely I would jump into things too quickly or get too turned off the whole thing and spend years single when I now realize there were plenty of good guys out there had I made the effort. Most of the time I went out with guys who came on pretty strong and showered me with affection at first. These guys coveted me when they met me, but weren't that interested in really being all that nice to me in the long run. In retrospect, I think it was like a prize to win. A manic pixie dream girl. I think when they figured out I was a real person with needs, wants, ideas, and ambitions of my own, their interest cooled. Usually these guys didn't break it off with me. Several even told me outright it was because they couldn't imagine doing better than me. Even if they weren't that into it, they just got more and more distant and difficult, and eventually had to do the dirty work myself. Interestingly, I would say my husband is in the same category as I am. Traditionally attractive, but socially awkward, though he was never an ugly duckling at all. In his case, it seems he never got the memo about being handsome and doesn't even really understand what traditionally attractive is for either intimacy. He finds me beautiful and attractive, but doesn't have a type at all. He doesn't even seem to understand that there are rules as to what people generally consider to be attractive. He goes on an individual basis. All his girlfriends, including me, basically had to make all the moves to make things happen. I even proposed to him. You proposed to him? Story 7. I would say I'm decently attractive now. However, I wasn't cute or very social in high school. Very into the scene kid trend and went to a tiny private Christian school. So I was super weird compared to everyone, so I had like 2 friends. Then dated a very controlling guy for about 5 years. So throughout most of my college life, he kept me from going out a lot and controlled who I could be friends with. Now I had like 3 friends. Once we broke up, I started being more social. I get told it was awkwardly adorable a few times, but mostly got that I have a resting witch face. I'm getting better at it, but sometimes I still do weird stuff or just get super quiet, so I just end up looking angry. Another relatable one. Story 8. I got some swarthiness and tan-inclined, age-resistant skin from my dad's side, but I got some height and wingspan from my mom's Swedish side. Very big, round, dark, childlike eyes and baby cheeks, all according to my wife, by the way. I was always quite athletically inclined. But also, from my mom's side, I got a healthy dose of autism. Not medically, just the normal Scandinavian kind. A high-strung and shy internal environment combined with a stoic outward appearance. Girl in school kept pestering me. Sarah wants you to ask her out. I would always comply because I was scared of defying these aggressive girls. I'd walk over to Sarah, want to go out? She'd say yes. I'd walk back to my seat and try my best to ignore them, certainly never intending to actually go anywhere. That happened like 3 times with the most popular and attractive girls in school, and I summarily squandered all of it. One relationship even lasted over the summer, despite essentially no contact. I guess we were still going out in August. How was I supposed to know? Sorry, Sarah, Gladys, Lisa, Zyba, and one more I forgot. I'm sure you were nice, but had trees to climb. Story 9. I was an ugly kid with no friends. Not in middle school, not for most of high school. I was just a wide-jawed, squinty-eyed, big-boned monstrosity of a child who developed mommy issues because she'd put me down in front of other people. Well, I grew into that strong jaw pretty well. Grew to be 6'something and broad-shouldered, and my foxy eyes turned out to be my biggest asset. I have tons of confidence these days, but since I lost a decade of developing social skills, my confidence is almost entirely based on my looks. I'll spend an hour sitting and staring into a mirror before going out some nights. I'll eat in front of a mirror. I'll smile at myself, laugh and made-up jokes, just to be sure that everything checks out image-wise. I tend to be very popular nowadays and make more friends than I can keep up with, but because I spent so much of my developmental years alone and awkward, I worry that everyone can see the residue of that. I agonize over every little social interaction for 30 seconds following it. All my body language, even the way I sit, has been hastily but carefully considered. Every time I open my mouth, I feel like I'm about to dive into the deep end of a pool. I can't swim, and I'm always surprised even when people respond positively to anything I say. I'm an engaged and thoughtful and appreciative conversationalist because I feel like I have to be just to get by. But ironically, people love that. It's not 100% paranoia either. Deep down, I really am still that awkward, lonely kid who no one wants to talk to, and that kid will show himself randomly. Like I'll be on a date with some hot wannabe Instagram model, and the last thing she wants to talk about is 37th President of the United States, Richard M. Nixon, but we just passed Millhouse Street, and did you know Nixon's middle name was Millhouse? I wonder what he'd think about the dress you're wearing. You know, he used to wear a windbreaker and dress shoes even on the beach. I didn't know that. That's cool. Story 10. As a preteen and teen, I was not cute. I went through that awkward chubby phase and just didn't know how to work with my curly hair and was teased a lot. No boys liked me, and PE sucked because I was their slow, chubby girl and I was in the RSP program to top it off. The RSP damaged me the most, and I still have a sort of complex about it. Then, like magic, when I turned 18, the baby fat melted off. I knew how I wanted to look, and suddenly I was considered beautiful and a stunner. I had never caught up with that, making me a low-hanging desperate fruit until I managed to get married. Twice, before the age of 26. So I'm still painfully shy and see myself as mentally handicapped in some way. So I consistently choose jobs where I can sort of hide from people or require more physical work. I start a new job with a lot of customer interaction tomorrow, and I'm absolutely terrified of dealing with people because I think I seem odd. During the first marriage, I didn't work at all and hid myself away like a hermit, but he also was insecure and felt more secure if I was home. Story 11. This is a good one for me. I'm a tall, classically handsome man. Genetics win. I'm also diagnosed with a generalized anxiety disorder, and sometimes it can be hard for me to be social. Genetics fail. Anyway, I think the moral of the story here is that physically attractive people can get away with being socially awkward because people are automatically more interested in talking to someone who is attractive. Because of this, the cycle continues. I try to work on social interactions, but I've never had to focus on becoming better because I have a buffer. There are bad sides. I really focus on being nice, and people take this the wrong way. I currently have a stalker. Bummer. I've led people on romantically, especially in my youth, because I have trouble reading social cues, and my anxiety or depression sometimes makes me think that there's no way someone is actually interested in me. Definitely a blessing and a curse. The blessings are I modeled in college, so no school debt. Getting a first date is easier. For all those people who are physically attractive but don't want to be, I have some wise words from Mean Girls for you. You're a regulation hottie. Own it. Story 12. I always get the "why are you single" questions from people I hang out with. Truth is, while I'm very outwardly ongoing and sociable, I have terrible anxiety, and I'm basically acting my way through social engagements. This comes from years of being overly sheltered by my parents, never being let out of their sight, even through high school, and generally not being allowed to do the usual things that kids do growing up, and building those social skills. I've been told I'm attractive, but when I look in the mirror, I just see some short, awkward kid, and even with recent changes to my lifestyle and living arrangements, I still have trouble socializing on a regular basis. Story 13. Hello there. Pro-man biker with Asperger's here. Currently studying engineering and on my way to applying to a couple of modeling agencies. In my early 20s, and I've never been kissed or had a girlfriend. My story: obsessively training every day instead of partying and going out is not the way to sharpen your social skills. On top of that, having Asperger's, which I didn't find out about until I was 21, didn't help much either. I don't regret it at all, though. I get paid to ride bikes, and some of the best people and closest friends I have I met through cycling. Story 14. Both of my parents are narcissists. One may be full-on sociopathic. Was sick a lot as a child. Quasimodo up until junior year. Hardly ever had any friends. Got tall, got thin, got handsome. It's a miracle that I haven't snapped and become a complete monster. More or less get into short-term things anymore. Can ask me anything. It's weird to just talk about it at large because things can get comical to outright dark, depending on the situation. Story 15. My brother is 5 years older than me, and almost every day he was in high school, he would come home and tell me, "All witches are crazy, never get a girlfriend." He would seriously say this every day, and being my older and only brother, I practically took his word like scripture, and it kind of messed up how I view women. It's hard to talk to them. I kind of blame my brother. There are probably some of the things, like my not-so-good relationship with my mom. Guys talk about girls with daddy issues. Let me tell you, guys with mommy issues is a thing, too. Story 16. Not really socially awkward, but kinda aloof. Was an ugly duckling until around 12 or 13, to the point that girls used to make fun of me or call me ugly. Pretty cruel crap, too. All of a sudden, I became the hot guy. Maybe puberty, I don't know. But every girl became attracted to me. The hottest of the hot girls were all over me. This was very, very strange to me. As a matter of fact, the first girl that showed interest in me, I told her to go screw herself and get the heck away from me. I told her that because I thought she was just being cruel and messing with me. Eventually, I came into my own and started dating just super hot girls, the whole time in my head feeling like an imposter. Now, the socially awkward part. Dating these girls gave me an insight into their world, and it really turned my stomach. I saw that they were all vapid, shallow, vain, materialistic, and thought they were better than other people. They didn't have to be smart, sensitive to others' feelings, considerate, etc. They just had to look hot and expected the world to revolve around them. So from then on and now, when I see a really attractive woman, I kinda automatically don't like them. On the flip side, I know a lot of girls who are attractive and have good personality. They're all just taken. Story 17. Asperger's gets in the way, and I like spending a lot of time in my head, or reading stuff. Also, some nasty issues hinder my ability to have a boyfriend, but I'm still too scared to bring them up with my therapist, so yeah. Which doesn't help at all because I'm on my way to being 25 years old, look like a 16-year-old, and I'm generally considered attractive and charming by a lot of people. But the truth is, I'm just clueless most of the time and have to pay extra attention to what's going on because of that. Even then, I'm still clueless and really bad at reading faces or paying attention to situations. To the point I may laugh if you're mad at me because I think your face looks funny. I don't do it as much as when I was a kid, though. Story 18. I'm physically attractive. I'm fit, tall, young, active, and healthy. I dress very well and make sure everything I wear fits perfectly. People often ask me if I'm a model, especially when I wear a suit. People tell me all the time I look like a Ralph Lauren model. Someone like that gets all the women, right? Nope. I'm very shy and a very boring person. My only interests are golf, and I'm not trying to pick up older, closeted gay men, especially because I'm very much straight. I go to the gym and keep to myself. If I'm not at work, I'm most likely going home to play video games because I have no one else to do activities or things with. People will talk to me and have a very blank slate, unable to hold a conversation to save my life. I have no idea how to talk to people. I'll check girls out, they'll check me out, but that's about it because if I approach them, I wouldn't be able to say more than hello. I do a lot of activities solo because I'm very spontaneous, and the few friends I do have wouldn't be able to keep up with me or would just slow me down. I haven't had a girlfriend in years because I'm very socially awkward. Going to a bar and fooling around with someone is pretty easy when you have alcohol flowing and everyone around you is in the same mood, but I want a partner, not a one-night stand who's only interested because we're both mutually intoxicated. I can honestly say that looks open doors, talking gets you through them. I can only open the doors. Then learn to talk, dude. Story 19. I was an ugly duckling with fear of strangers, adults, girls, dancing, stage, and public speaking. Girls, answering the telephone, and girls. Then puberty hit me like a nuke. Now I'm 6'2" and semi-hot. I've been conquering my fears one by one. Everyone thinks I'm some kind of daredevil and I'm just trying to obliterate my phobias. But I still have a hard time approaching girls. While I'm happy with letting girls make the first move, all my relationships so far were the girls who asked me out first, who I like because they like me and not for any significant reason. Story 20. I grew up hella sheltered. My mother was a teen mom who grew up in cruel foster homes, and she figured it would never happen to us if she never gave us freedom. So that factored into my lack of socializing or recognizing social norms sometimes. Then I met the man who I would later marry and divorce. He was a jealous control freak, so I naively allowed him to manipulate me to isolate myself from what little friends I had and be a stay-at-home mom for what felt like an eternity. After the divorce, I'm currently 28. I can't find or keep a friend nor a boyfriend to save my life. I don't think I'm as attractive as people say I am. Self-esteem problems. But I've had so many men come up to me, ask for my number, ask me on dates, and so on. Due to my social awkwardness, shyness, and lack of spontaneity, none was fruitful, or I attract the wrong dudes. Legend says that if you hit that subscribe and like button, you'll attract the right dudes. Story 21. I got that larger, strong, guy lumberjack metrosexual look. Think Paul Bunyan with a bum knee. My story is before I found out you can dress well and bulk up, I was just a fat guy in sweatpants for the first 14 years of my life. I am now way too held back when it comes to interacting with people for the first time. I'm pretty good with Tinder because now at 22, I'm told I have dad bod, which hopefully never stops being a thing. Oh dear God, don't let that stop being a thing. It's always been a thing. Story 22. All of my friends, why are you still single? You're handsome, funny, and actually a good person. Me, are you making a pass at me? I'm either incredibly oblivious to being flirted with or really bad at flirting in public. All my best games are literally when I'm alone with someone or over the internet. It makes going to social events and getting called out for flirting with someone the ultimate death sentence because then I'm conscious of it. Story 23. When I was a kid, sports were my escape from a confusing social structure that I didn't really understand. Just hanging out with people I didn't know what to expect from people or what was expected from me, so I avoided it. However, when I was playing a sport, I knew exactly what was going on. I especially took to swimming because it was a solitary sport and I loved the water. When I was mid-race, it was like I was by myself. That, of course, means that I got into ridiculously good shape and trained myself to work out as a response to stress. Where some people would eat more when they got awkward, I would just go to the gym and build up a nice adrenaline rush to burn the stress away. The end result is that while I was still the same awkward and shy guy that I used to be, I was in fantastic shape. I've since slowly gotten less awkward, mostly by using physical activities of various kinds to ease myself into social situations. However, I am still pretty shy and have a tendency to still get a bit awkward in social settings. However, I'm more swole now than ever, and I'm still exercising almost every day. I feel a level of privacy and self-satisfaction during a good workout that can't be matched by anything else. Story 24. I'm not socially awkward all the time. I'm actually really good at certain social interactions. I used to be fat, had long, heavy metal hair, and dressed like crap, with a crap goatee. Lost weight, started exercising, eating right, dressing nicer, cutting or styling my beard and hair. The weight loss was extremely fast, 110 pounds gone in a year. My confidence has always been good with people in general, but I was definitely not suave with women as far as romance is concerned. So here's an awkward story about being oblivious to interactions with women. I'm on a city bus near the college part of town. Gorgeous woman in a gauzy-looking summer dress gets on the bus. College-aged. I scoot over to let her sit down and she chooses to stand. Damn, sure would have liked sitting next to her. She's hot. I think to myself. The bus ride continues. I forget about her until she walks by to sit in a newly vacant seat. I'm texting my buddy now, though, so we can confirm where we'll meet up soon. Hence the bus. I glance up from my messages to realize my stop might have been passed, so I just get up here and pull the stop cord. As I'm standing there at the back, waiting to exit, I feel a warm body pressing against me from behind. I look to see that the woman has grabbed the pole right where I had, and she's standing right up against me. I look back and I apologize for bumping into her. I take a step forward, and 2 seconds later, I feel her bump me again. I apologize again and move away again. Now the bus has stopped, and I step off while holding the door handles. The woman doesn't wait for me to let go. She grabs my hand. I turn around and apologize again. Like crap, I'm so clumsy, and this hot girl thinks I'm a bumbling idiot. She falls onto me, grabs my shoulders and chest while smiling, so I catch her by the hips. I put her down a foot or so on the sidewalk so we could both walk away, which is what I did. I pulled out my phone and checked to see what street I was on. I look up at the street sign, then on my phone. I turn to check the cross street, and wham! Someone slams into me from the side where I left a woman. Oh, it's her again. She has fallen against me. Her hands are back in the same places as last time. My hands are on her hips again. She's smiling again. So I apologized again for bumping into her, turned towards the right direction, and went to go meet my buddy. Unless a fat squid witch had stolen the girl's voice, he's not the only one being awkward in this story. Story 25. I was bullied in middle school and ignored in high school. I went to a rich school, but we weren't rich, working class at the time. I'm introverted, and I wasn't particularly talented in any sport or creative arts, and I also never really figured out how to do my hair and makeup until I was 17, 18 years old. I wasn't ugly or a hot mess or anything. I was just, pretty invisible to most people. I only ever had 2 guys express interest in me throughout middle and high school, and they were both obese goth guys who got suspended for making serious threats. And then I blossomed. Started really taking care of myself by working out regularly, developed my own style, and I'm obsessed with skincare. I really came into my own on this in my late teens, early 20s. Now, at 31, a lot of people who just glided by on the virtues of their youth are really starting to show their age both physically and personality-wise. I try really hard not to fall into that trap, which I think can really do wonders for a person's attractiveness. I am still an introverted, awkward mess who still doesn't believe that girls look at me like I really love her style or I wish I was fit like her, and whom attractive men are attracted to. I think I missed some vital point of prime social development when I was being bullied or ignored. Story 26. When I was 11 or 12, I moved schools and for a year and a half was picked on a lot. Not too much physically, but lots of psychological stuff. In particular, they would include me or compliment me like, oh man, can we get you in our group? You're great at X. And I would say I'd love to. Then they would say, psych, who'd actually want you in a group, loser? The popular girls would flirt, and if I responded with anything nice or polite, they would do the same psych treatment. I was kind of the class heel because I came from a private school. Anyway, that made me distrust and feel awkward around compliments. So while people tell me, wow, you're a very handsome man, I guess deep down I always wait for, lol, just kidding, freaky loser, or assume they were just being nice, not honest. That felt good to talk about. Let it all out, man. Let it all out. Story 27. I would consider myself physically attractive, but I dismiss myself when a girl is flirting with me. I think it all started in 7th grade when I finally had the guts to ask a girl out and she said no. Then I finally had the guts to ask out a girl in 8th grade and she said no. I took that as a sign that girls weren't interested in me. Even at work, girls flirt with me. I think. I honestly don't know if they're being nice or not. And most of the time I ask a girl on a date, they dance around the topic of stop talking to me. I try to look on the bright side, though. Out of 6 people I've been on dates with, 5 have resulted in more dates, and 2 of them were 2 months of dating. Story 28. Oh man, I'm pretty sure this applies to me. I'm a young, attractive female, but I feel like the attractive part is sheer force of will. I grew up an uber Catholic. We wore dresses from a special Amish catalog because my mom didn't approve of mainstream clothing. Homeschooled and with an extremely dysfunctional family. I've never been good at making friends, and I still look back and cringe at how I acted growing up before I caught on. Despite all the obstacles, I was bound and determined to be sexy. So I practiced dancing in my darkened bedroom to the radio, found my mom every time we went clothes shopping, devoured music videos and fashion magazines, learned how to apply makeup, and quizzed other women on the mysteries of flirting. I succeeded, but as you can imagine, it's been a rough road. Thankfully, I'm living a very pleasant and peaceful life with an amazing boyfriend, and my family really calmed down. Story 29. I'm tall and handsome enough to get girls to approach me, but when it comes to actual relationships, I'm completely lost. I don't know how to interact with a girl when I bring her home, besides just superficial, surface-level stuff. Nice weather we're having, huh? It's not that I don't have these deeper-level things I wish I could express, but I just don't know how. This is especially true when it comes to emotional things, which I'm abysmal at expressing. I don't really feel feelings toward women. It's not that I don't enjoy their company and wish they could be around, but I don't get this lightning bolt to the heart thing that people say love is. That's very rare, but you will get it one day. Story 30. Ugly duckling syndrome, I guess. I used to be super extroverted as a kid, but a huge tomboy. When I started middle school, a few friends of mine took it upon themselves to tell me that I basically looked awful. So I changed. And I had terrible skin through the 7th and 8th grade and was once called one of the ugliest kids in the class. That single incident alone destroyed my self-esteem more than I care to admit. I dislike that it affects me all these years later. These days, I've been told I'm attractive, but it doesn't make interacting with people easier. I just assume I'm making some strange face whenever someone talks to me because I've been told that I have resting witch face. I always think I'm doing something odd or looking mean or uninterested when I'm talking with someone. It's just hard to have a conversation in general now, and I tend to lapse into the most mundane small talk. Think weather-related and focus too much on making sure I'm smiling, but not too much, or that's creepy. I also have a horrible tendency to talk super fast, even with people I'm comfortable with, and it's 10 times worse when I'm nervous. So people often have to ask me to repeat myself, which makes me more embarrassed and nervous, and I start getting this strange, out-of-body sensation. And though I'm looking at their face, my eyes start glazing over or I look through them, if that makes sense. I find it really hard to maintain eye contact. And the moment a person makes the slightest face that I think is unhappy, I assume they're annoyed with me or think I'm weird and try to find a way to leave the situation. Needless to say, making friends or finding a boyfriend is difficult. I've been told that I'm intimidating before, which doesn't help. Probably because of the before-mentioned resting face. What also doesn't help is that even if someone cool-looking asks me out, I panic and tell them I have a boyfriend because I feel put on the spot and I'm bad at this. Being in a one-on-one situation for hours with someone I don't know, especially when it's a date, is truly terrifying for me. That's all I think about when someone asks me out or a potential friend asks me to go get lunch. You may or may not have autism. Look into that. Story 31. Female, late bloomer, anxiety, computer science, anime. That about covers all the bases. I spent all my time in high school playing WoW and reading Naruto fanfiction instead of dating boys and learning to make friends. Now guys try to approach me and hit on me, but I still feel like the weird, awkward fan I was in high school, so I'm just like, why? Can I help you? I still can't get out of the mentality of I'm really weird and awkward, and this person is only talking to me because they want something or they're messing with me. Now that I'm more attractive, it comes off as stuck up. My resting face does not help. Hot nerds are the best. Story 32. I grew up kind of awkward and I was a bit of a strange kid. Really creative, enjoyed alone time, liked to make up elaborate fictional stories to entertain myself, and had an imaginary pony when I was really little. But that didn't bother me at all until middle school. In middle school, I added social clueless to my list of traits. I basically did a lot of horribly cringeworthy things in 6th grade. I was very smart. Test scores were always in the 90th percentile, but I had ADD, which meant my grades were pretty bad. The school placed me in classes with problem students despite how well-behaved I was. You only need to do 1 or 2 embarrassing things to make yourself a target, but I was an overachiever. I made the unwise decision to tell on someone in front of the whole class because my favorite teacher, who was young, pretty, and lighthearted, casually asked if anyone knew who was doing X. I just thought, oh, that's classmate. I can tell her what she wants to know. And I laughed as I tattled on someone in front of all my peers. People were not nice to me to begin with, and I was kind of nerdy, but not in a cool way. I grew up, got braces, dabbled in partying, became pretty, and built a circle of friends, but I'm still always hyper-conscious of what I'm saying and how it sounds because I will always remember the painful years when I was clueless and awkward. Story 33. I don't know, probably having agoraphobia and extreme social anxiety is what does it for me.
Apparently in high school, all the girls thought I was that unapproachable guy. They all thought none of them had a chance with me, when in reality, every day was a nightmare for me, anxiety-wise. I'm the guy in my group of friends no one understands because I'm leaps and bounds more attractive, but openly pursue fewer girls and go out less. I don't know when girls are flirting with me because I personally have never thought of myself as attractive, but that's the social anxiety part. Story 34. My life is weird. Basically, my attractiveness operates in two cycles. Number one, the beginning of the semester when I have free time to go to the gym, and number two, the end of the semester towards exams when I have no time to go to the gym and lose all my muscle. When I don't go to the gym, I receive no interest from women at all. Doesn't help that I'm really introverted and socially awkward, so even if I do get some attention, I'm too socially awkward to put myself out there and be the initiator anyway. But it's a whole different story when I'm working out. I swear I can't walk down a street without someone checking me out. Part of me likes the attention, but like I said, I'm socially awkward, so it gets really weird when someone is blatantly checking you out and you don't know how to respond. Story 35. I don't like people talking to me, flirting with me, and especially not touching me in a flirty sense. I intentionally dress crappy, grow beard, shave my head, the works. While I lift weights, I don't do so for health or for appearance, it's just fun. But I'm big and strong enough that it seems impossible for women not to point it out. I work as a service bartender while I'm finishing my degree. I don't deal with customers, just make drinks and wash glassware, and without a doubt the servers that I work with are the bane of my existence. It's always, hey muscles, this, and you should smile more, that. I asked my sister who works there with me, started a rumor that I was gay, but nobody buys it, so now I tell people I'm engaged. Congratulations. Story 36. I spent my entire high school career absolutely terrified of people finding out I was bisexual. I liked women and men equally. There were guys I crushed on and girls I fantasized about marrying and having kids with. So I didn't want to be called gay or labeled that way because I felt the label carried weight I wasn't ready to bear. I didn't want to have to explain to every girl I met thereafter that I wasn't playing her just to run off with some gay dude I met at the beach. As a result, I became very estranged and rarely made friends. I kept people at a distance because it was easier for me. People tried to make friends sometimes, not often, so I'd smile and I would pretend to have interests while deliberately avoiding my real hobbies for fear that graphic design and piano were too gay to be interested in. It gave me good practice and assimilation, and for the rest of my life thus far, I've noticed my personality is more of a sponge than anything else. I've become adept at altering my personality and self-image to complement the crowd I'm surrounded by. It's a really lonely thing because even though I'm out now, the transition was hard. Reinforcing my social tendencies, which are often seen as borderline antisocial. Not a lot of people are willing to put up with it, or understand why my temperament changes on a dime based on whatever new friend I'm being introduced to. People I've truly opened up to and have stuck around even get tired of my heavy personality sometimes. So I've adapted to keep my issues to myself and to do my best to make those around me feel comfortable. Sometimes at my own cost. Story 37. I guess you could say that I was the ugly duckling. I wasn't overly fat or ugly, just plain, but I suffered severely from depression and a narcissistic mother. It was a children are meant to be seen and not heard kind of mentality. I finally started growing into my looks. Small nose, wide eyes, and expressive mouth by the time high school ended. I think of myself as pretty, but nothing gorgeous. I still have problems talking to people. I don't mumble or speak too softly now, but I tend to blush really hard when talking to the opposite gender or just to people I don't interact with daily. I stumble over my words or get them mixed up, and in general, it makes me feel very stupid. I hope it never gives people the wrong idea, like I'm trying to flirt or that I like them romantically, but I'm pretty sure it does. It really sucks too because I just got out of a 4-year relationship and now I have to relearn how to flirt. Story 38. I was a late bloomer, like 110 pounds in 8th grade type small. Plus, I had ADHD, which made me annoying and socially awkward as a child. It also happens that I'm smart and love video games and reading. You can imagine why grade school girls weren't interested in me. At all. To make a long story short, I hit high school, grew about 5 inches, and put on 50 pounds of muscle, about in 1 year, due to puberty suddenly transforming me into a really good athlete. But I was already pretty socially ruined. I had a crippling fear of social rejection. I never kissed a girl until junior year of high school and never went to parties. I lost my V card at 18, only to give people one less thing to tease me about during college, and yes, I know it's kind of a messed up reason and I feel bad about misleading that girl, but it's in the past. And she wasn't pure, so that helps me justify things. Anyway, 5'11", 170 pounds, ex-college wrestler with 6 to 7% body fat and an attractive face. And I still have incredible insecurities about talking to women and have only dated women less attractive than myself. in order to avoid rejection and help alleviate my own insecurities. Story 39. I have no idea how to ask people out. I'm great on dates, I think. I can be really personable. I lift weights, but I can't break the ice and talk to a stranger for the first few seconds. I feel like girls don't want to be chatted up all day long by random guys. Like they're grocery shopping or at the gym or eating dinner with a friend. They're not there to get hit on. And I know guys do it because I see it and just can't bring myself to bother these people just for a chance at a date. And even then, like, what the heck do you say? Hey, I was just staring at you from across the aisle and I just had to walk all the way over here and compliment your hair. Story 40. I'm an emotionless robot. Not really, though. I just misplaced my emotional chip. Unsure how to actually connect with people on any sort of intimate level. I disguise it by acting like a class clown or doing extremely outgoing, mostly eccentric things like wild dancing, karaoke, getting way too intoxicated, etc. I do these things so that it looks like I'm out having a good time, being social and all that. But really, I'm just doing things that help maintain a good distance between me and others. And at the end of each night, I run home so I can be by myself. Most people don't realize how uncomfortable and awkward I really am. Story 41. Pretty much comes down to my relationship with my parents, and more specifically, my dad. Nothing I ever did was really good enough, and I always got criticized no matter what. Now, when I think of doing something with someone, friends, girls, whatever, I often think something along the lines of, but why would they want to hang out with you? You're not good enough. Ironically, a lot of people find me funny, good looking, cool to hang out with, etc., but unless the other person makes a huge effort at the beginning, or we're forced to hang out like sports or work, I don't generally become friends with people. I worked really hard to come out of my shell and get over all of this, but I still have some ways to go. Hotties. What are some perks that you've gotten for being attractive? Pulled over for going 62 and a 45 in a small town. Got off with a warning. Bumped a car in the parking lot. Guy said don't worry about it and asked me on a date. Bumped a car on the road. Older gentleman got out and gave me a hug for saying I was sorry. Realizing I may not be a good driver after typing all this out. Story 2. Not to toot my own horn, but I've never gotten blamed for farts. I have horrendous, rancid farts. I unleash one silently in a crowd and no one ever suspects it's me. Sometimes I leave a path of destruction in my path where people behind me will start gagging or blaming each other. Story 3. I used to recognize I got some sort of special treatment, but back in 2020, winter of 2020, when the mask mandates hit and I had to wear my giant winter jacket, I live in Canada, I realized just how much privilege I get. I noticed when people didn't really see what I looked like, I stopped getting random acts of kindness from others. I got interrupted more. No one held the door open for me or gave up their seat for me. A lot of perks I got, discounts, freebies that I attributed to being a nice person pretty much disappeared too. On the other hand, there was something kind of nice about the invisibility. I felt under the radar in a way that was often very comfortable. No one is really more rude, just doesn't notice you. Without the mask experience, I honestly am not sure I would have noticed that I even had a lot of these perks. It just felt normal until I experienced the contrast. Story 4. As somebody who lived on both sides, I'll tell you, it's incredibly easier to get through life when you take care of yourself. As a former below-average kid, I'll tell you the confidence goes through the roof. As long as you retrain your ability to empathize with others and still maintain the necessary distance to not immediately show romantic intent with the opposite gender, you're received so much better by everybody. Story 5. My sweet summer child, the hotties are not terminally online. They're too busy succeeding at all other facets of life. Alright guys, want to know how many real humans were in this thread? The number may confound and annoy you. Counting my account as a human, a grand total of 27 humans were here. The rest are bots. Yes, that's correct. There's 2,240 responses here as of 4:24 p.m. on July 8th, 2025, and the vast majority have been made by bots. A couple hundred accounts with only 27 being active human beings. As long as you give me a margin of error of 15%, but that still only means a max of 2 accounts are misflagged as bots, we are so screwed. Story 6. Conversations with girlfriends have confirmed that people are more likely to be nicer to attractive people. We call it pretty privilege. Men will offer to grab something for me if they can see I'm reaching towards it or walking in that direction. They're more likely to open doors for me. Men touch me more with small gestures like arm, shoulder, upper back, and hand during casual conversations. The creeps take it to the next level and go for legs, lower back, etc. More likely to stop and offer help if they can see I'm stuck doing something. Story 7. I don't necessarily think I'm the most attractive person on planet Earth, but I'd be delusional to not notice I'm treated like I am, so I probably am. I've never not gotten a job I got an interview for on Zoom or in person. Even horrible, rude landlords are nice to me. Promotions and raises come easily. I've had bosses go out of their way to get me paid more or given opportunities to find ways to earn more without asking. My local dispensary seems to always have a 20% discount appear if I so much as hint at having an inconvenience that day. I don't love meeting new people, but I know if I'm going to be in a situation where I might, I'm 95% of the time going to be received well, and if I'm not, it's by a woman with a husband who is absolutely not being subtle looking my way. In absolutely any other situation, I'm received well. The one time I hit someone's car in a parking lot, they apologized for not being visible enough when I was genuinely at fault. 100%. There wasn't any damage, thankfully, but my god, it felt bad that he felt responsible. I don't often want to make new friends. I'm very introverted, but once every 3 years I get the urge, it's very easy. I do not struggle making friends. I struggle wanting to be social. I can go out in genuinely anything clothing-wise and get at least one compliment. No makeup, full face, light makeup, doesn't matter. If I leave my house for more than an hour, I will probably get a compliment from somebody. People are way friendlier to me. I'm very left-leaning and often wear clothes outright mentioning hot topic issues and will have MAGA hats striking up friendly conversations. The shirts are not subtle. My appearance isn't subtle. My area is extremely conservative and I definitely stick out. Story 8. Tons of compliments on my appearance. Also, people asking me for fashion or makeup advice. People are just overall really nice to me. Lots of smiles, holding doors, helping me find places, etc. I'm pretty soft-spoken and don't speak much in groups, but when I do pipe up, everyone immediately stops and pays attention to me. When I was in college, there was this guy on my morning bus who would make origami roses and give them to me when we got off. I walked into Abercrombie and Fitch one time, and the manager chased me down and offered me a job there. Men also always want to give me food. It's usually brownies for some reason. No complaints. I love brownies. Story 9. Fresh out of the gym, I went to the grocery store to buy a couple cartons of ice cream, and the lady in front of me in line bought them for me. The club dancers actually do like me, and I have gone home with them before. All the women managers are nice to me, and I can't relate to a lot of my coworkers' complaints about them because I'm benefiting heavily from the favoritism. I don't have a car, but that's never seemed to be an issue, and when I tell women that, they offer to drive me around. Getting onto boat parties for free. I get compliments almost every time I leave my house. I've never had to make the first move. Story 10. When I was 18, my father ran a charity event, and that year struggled to find sponsors. Spent a day driving around in a low-cut top and my makeup done and came home with enough funding to fully sponsor the event. I rarely paid for drinks in college. Never asking, someone would just inevitably jump in and pay. But I hated the attention. The looks were always lewd and I felt unsafe a lot. And things happened where I was definitely unsafe, but I also knew self-defense. At work, it was also ridiculously difficult to be taken seriously by male bosses. Some women, but mostly male. 20 plus years later, it's less so, but I still look fairly young. Now I'm just mostly with my husband. Story 11. I don't necessarily think I'm a hottie, but I just have a different look. I've gotten a lot of free things though. Food, drinks, bars and cafes, family photo shoots. I may be biased, but my kids are beautiful and my husband is also very handsome. Got out of a ticket a couple times. I worked a commission job and was able to get men to spend a lot of money. Lol. Literally was told, if you say it looks good, I'll take it. My husband has pointed out that he just thinks it's all because of who I am overall. I love listening to people's stories and getting to know who they are. Could be a vibe thing. Story 12. I get free stuff at drive-thrus and coffee shops a lot, and people seem to be more willing to help me with stuff, especially at work. I've gotten gift cards from customers, followed by being asked out. When I worked in the night industry, when I was younger, just in retail, not even as a cocktail waitress or anything, I would get tipped with a $100 bill and have had men and couples slide me hotel key cards. I wouldn't say I'm drop-dead gorgeous or hot, TBH. I'm pretty average if you ask me. I think people may just fetishize my ethnicity sometimes, especially older men, despite how I look. Story 13. Recently, I almost missed my train and forgot to buy a train ticket. So I went up to the counter on the other end of the journey and told them, offering to pay. They told me to enjoy my free day. I told this to someone else and they said, lucky there weren't any cops or ticket patrol that caught you. I said what I thought was the most logical thing, that I would have just told them the situation and they would have understood. They laughed at me and said that doesn't happen. Happens to me, all of the time. I thought everyone could just be lovely and get out of trouble. Also, recently I took my partner's car to the car shop and asked them what oil to buy and how to put it in. They said it was against store policy to touch customers' cars as they filled it up for me. Then told me my smile made their day, so it was worth it. Story 14. Free stuff or discounts. Yes, that includes senior citizens, military, and students, even when I'm not. People go out of their way to talk to me. Old ladies ask me for hugs. Doctors spend more time with me in the office. Phone customer service agents also try to keep me on the line. People steal my stuff, including dating partners. Women ask me for fashion advice or random in stores. People ask me to hold their kids or babies. A lot of general compliments. Couples hit on me. People ask me a lot of questions about myself and seem overly interested. More. People bring me their animals to pet and introduce them to me. Kids offering things to me. Random people will come to comfort me if I'm upset when I'm in public. Well, that was a mixed bag of perks. Story 15. Getting hotel room or rental car upgrades. I travel a lot for work, and it took me a while to realize after talking with other colleagues that I got upgrades 3 to 4 times more frequently than my colleagues even at the same events. Being given the benefit of the doubt in meetings, attractiveness coupled with confidence, I get questioned less for my sources and supporting materials when I'm giving presentations in person when people can see me versus when I'm doing them over conference calls where you can't see me. In person is better than on video, but video is better than voice only. I used to prefer voice only until I started to notice the massive benefits and quality questions, and less negativity when I did them in person. Walking into places I don't actually belong. I've been able to go into parties, backstage pass events, met Alicia Keys, lounges, and meetings that I didn't have tickets or wristbands to get into, but looking confident and smiling as I walked through, I've made it into many events. I noticed after I turned about 35, I did get stopped a little more often than I did in my mid-20s to early 30s, where my success rate was well over 75%. Not in my 40s, I try less with a success rate in the 50% range. Story 16. I'm not hot, but I'm short and cute. Perks in this demographic. People are really nice to me. Random smiles on the street, and people are always happy to let their dogs play with me. Dogs seem to go out of their way for pets for me. Babies like me and always stare until I give them a smile, and they giggle and play with me. Random compliments on my outfits, which is nice. Jobs. I've been hired for several positions because, as an interviewer told me verbatim, you present well. Apartments. I've gotten at least one shared apartment because the main tenant thought I was cute. She was freaking crazy, but the apartment was amazing. And this can be a blessing or a voodoo, but people often have no idea how old I am or that I'm really smart. So in casual settings, they often underestimate me. Can be good or bad, depending on the situations. Story 17. As someone who has bounced back and forth between hot and not hot like a damn ping pong ball, it is wild seeing the difference. I work for a luxury company, and when I'm in uniform, I've noticed people are way more patient. Want to start a conversation, help me carry parts, and outside of work, I've gotten discounts, more food added to a burrito, and met band members. Conversely, when I'm out of uniform with my face covered in a reoccurring rash, belly swollen from gastroparesis, cystic acne flaring, limp from other medical conditions, people act horrified I left my tower or something. Story 18. Okay, so I never considered myself hot or successful, but it could be said that I had some interesting and unusual experiences in life compared to my family and some peers, and I didn't fail where perhaps I should have. An example could be going backstage at shows or just generally getting invites out by touring bands, but never putting out, so it couldn't have been the convenience of that piece. Getting a birthday party catered for free by a chef who I met at a bar the night before said birthday, where I had gone with 2 male friends and we all drank for free because, who knows, apparently the staff wanted to practice making drinks. And getting moved to first class because a flight attendant was convinced I was famous and denying it. Wish I'd asked who they thought I was. Some of my friends joked that I probably looked like a corn star that we never would have seen. Who knows? Anyway, all that to say, I never considered it as any more than luck or a funny story or maybe somehow being charming. Until lockdown and needing to wear a mask. I enjoyed wearing a mask. Not spreading germs, but also the excuse to not engage people beyond the basics, but something else happened. Now I know misery was the business for 2020 to 2021, and 2022 depending on where you live, but I stopped getting free crap, free passes. It seemed like people were just not nice anymore. Like, legit. No one was ever friendly, and I was not used to that. It got me thinking that covering my face somehow affected my social coinage. It was a really bizarre reflection, and yes, life hits different again. Now I don't wear a mask. I still don't think I'm hottie, but I do take my experience as a testament to pretty privilege. Story 19. Wouldn't consider myself a hottie unless I try and put myself together with makeup and dress nicely. But when I do, there's been perks. I've gotten out of paying for a lot of stuff. Also gotten let off with a lot of warnings from cops for speeding. Really good tips at work. Lots of compliments. Recently, I got into a venue for free. Planned on paying once I got there, but tickets were sold out. I've gotten out of paying for parking. People are usually very nice up front to me. Men are usually very helpful. I've never been nervous for a first date. There's been many downsides to it also. Jealous boyfriends, creepy strangers as well. Story 20. My hot voice got me a blind date, and I've met women from talking on the phone working at a tech support call center. I've been told by multiple people my voice is hot. One time in high school, a girl called my cell number by accident. She called 2 more times by accident, then started talking to me. She said my voice was hot and wanted to go on a date. Unfortunately, I'm not actually hot, and I'd rate myself a 5 to 6. She was cute, maybe a 7 in my opinion, but after like 30 minutes at a restaurant, she just had to leave. Story 21. It gives you more confidence, and you don't have to constantly question if that guy's looking at you because you're insanely ugly or if it's because he likes you or thinks you're hot, which definitely helps with confidence. In a way, being a more confident person and putting yourself out there helps you get romance because of your personality and looks. A guy can be attracted to your personality or looks and later like you for both. I don't know how it works for less attractive people, but maybe a guy has to like them for their personality to really like them, so their chances are cut by quite a lot in the world right now. Still, other privileges like free stuff or more kindness are pretty nice. Well, every time after yoga, once I put stretching blocks back, the mat is always gone. Almost always someone holding the door open for you, people look at you and smile, and I've gotten a lot of free stuff from the places I go. Story 22. I was attractive when I was younger. Then I was 280 pounds, now I'm 125 pounds and have a full sleeve tattoo. I'm not a hottie, but the tattoo kind of makes me one, if that makes sense. My almost husband and I, were on holiday recently and overheard the group of lads at the table next to us call me a total attractive mother. When I was younger and more conventionally attractive, I got every job I interviewed for. I worked in sales and the sales were incredibly easy. I was the top salesperson with zero effort and terrible product knowledge. As I gained weight, sales got so much harder and I had to work really hard, relying on impeccable knowledge, going above and beyond and truly using every word of my training to be the best. At 280 pounds, I was practically invisible. I always seemed to offend people or do something wrong. Any mistake I made was a big deal. People talked over me and waiting staff in restaurants often forgot about me. Now, at 125 pounds with a tattoo, I'm prioritized as a person again. I am served quickly at a bar, waiting staff in restaurants are helpful and attentive, and sometimes people let me go ahead of them in a queue. I don't get interrupted in conversations. Even went to a cafe and got offered a job after less than a 5-minute conversation with the owner. I no longer feel like every word I say could upset someone. Mistakes are just mistakes, not some deliberate, awful personality flaw. Strangers start conversations and people hold doors open for me. Story 23. Oh boy, do I have stories. I've experienced so many perks. Going to restaurants and having your table randomly paid for by another table. Getting free stuff everywhere you go around the world. It doesn't matter whether it's a regular place or a 5-star venue. And there are the job opportunities. Of course, you need intellect and personality, but looks give it a boost. Networking opportunities. This business owner I met owned 7 private jets. No red tape. At least 75% of the time. Getting away with minor trouble or mishaps. Walking into places without reservations. Strangers going out of their way to make sure you're comfortable or get what you want, being treated with respect everywhere you go like you're royalty, getting special invites from boutiques or brands, etc. So many. But as a woman, there's also a lot of pestering from men and jealousy from women, close competition for both men and women. I've been 125 pounds and I've been 106 pounds in my lifetime, and life was definitely easier at 106 pounds, with a face guard too, of course. People basically love you just for existing and are nice everywhere you go for no reason. All genders, all ages. Basically, the world around you turns into a concierge experience most of the time. Life is easier when you're hot or strikingly beautiful, but also, don't be a schmuck. Manners and being polite are of utmost importance, so that makes it last. Story 24. I'm not a very attractive guy, but I have a really nice voice. For context, I was a radio disc jockey for a few years. I used to deliver pizzas in a resort area for a living. One time, I took a phone order for a bunch of college girls. They heard my voice and said, "And if you deliver it, we'll throw in a good tip." When I delivered the order, the girl who answered the door just kind of scanned over me briefly with a stank face expression. When the transaction finished and I was turning to leave, I heard her through the door. "They didn't send a hot guy, they just sent some ugly fat dude." And no, I didn't get a nice tip. Story 25. I get severely underestimated. It's very easy to make checkmate moves when you're not expected to know chess. This is great in terms of work, education, and group projects. It means I can normally get my stuff done without being noticed. Only applies to work. I'm never really lonely. Solo coffee day, treat for myself. Someone somewhere has started a conversation. Bar with the girls. Feels like they're just waiting for me to go to the bathroom or get a drink on my own to pounce. Single after a relationship, someone is always checking in. I get a lot of free stuff, drinks and snacks on my desk in the morning, extra cookies, random apply discounts, random conversation starters. I was at a sports bar playing pool with a guy I'm dating. He left to get chalk whilst I went to make my mark at my table. I was quickly immersed in a conversation about the first ever pool game. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 26. Went to a smoke shop with a friend. I was looking at a really nice rolling tray that had a cool design, but they were $30, so I passed. The guy working there goes, "Pick out anyone you want. I'll give it to you for free." He also gave me a free pre-roll. He didn't give one to my friend until she gave him a look and he'd given one to me first, probably to save face. But then the edibles I was buying were $5 above what I wanted to pay. So I was about to back out and he said, "No worries, $20 is fine," and rang me up. So basically I got a free $30 rolling tray, a free pre-roll, and $5 discounted edibles. When we walked out of the shop, we were like, did that really just happen? I don't even think I was wearing anything lavish. I had my hair down as usual and had eyeliner on with a red lip, which admittedly looked really nice with my green highlights. I wonder if that was it. Story 27. I don't know if I'd call myself hot, but I think I'm not bad looking. My husband thinks I'm pretty and I'm super fit. I play tennis 4 days a week and weightlift 2 days a week. I'd often get guys buying me drinks from the bar for free. My guy friends would also offer to drive me home after a late night out, even when my house is way out of the way from where they live. Random people are generally nicer. I get people smiling at me and I'd smile back at them to be polite. If I'm traveling solo on a plane without my husband, random strangers would go out of their way to help me put my carry-on luggage in the overhead compartment. Story 28. Don't know if I should respond because I'm not the hottest. I think I'm alright, but I make up for it in aura. I've seen people dunk on me when it comes to privileges. I'm a squishy girl, but I'll share. Free snacks, or food, or drinks. Every night that I'm on a night out alone, this happens. It happened once with a friend, but it occurs regularly when I'm by myself. Now that I'm older, they're sending top-shelf liquor and full-course meals. Professional modeling offers. I've been asked to model professionally in a major European city. Free tech repair. Complete strangers have offered free phone and laptop repair. Unexpected travel aid. A stranger once offered me a free ticket home. I was shocked. Complimentary event access. I don't want to tell where I live, but I've received free tickets to our major theater. Accidental road hazards. While in prime form, I've caused near-car accidents while walking down the street. Happened twice. One motorcyclist, one sedan. Tons of screeching and honking. I caught the motorcyclist looking because he almost passed away. Someone else told me about the sedan incident. Main character status. I've been called the main character. I now confidently act like it, and I don't get too much flack for it. I just believe in seizing joy. Story 29. I'm an attractive man when I keep my weight in check, but not a hottie, I guess. But the difference in treatment is astonishing. When I look good, lower weight, face not fat, etc., I have it so much easier. People are nicer, like way, way, way nicer to me. I recently moved, and making friends is so much easier than it was before. Also, I have benefits in getting jobs, and women especially treat me way nicer. If the difference is so much for me, how much bigger is it for a real hottie? Story 30. The main thing is it's not the dramatic moment where people ask you on a date. It's that all day, every day. Things just seem quite nice, quite easy, and people seem happy to you. You can go about your day and just think the world seems quite pleasant. People smile at you, people check to see if they can squeeze you in, people accept returned items, people hold the door for you, people seem nice, people seem to have time and nothing bad seems to happen. People offer you the job, they say you're nice to work with, they invite you to the meeting. Clients that others say are mean seem okay. It's endless and subtle. A lot of this based on my wife's experiences. Story 31. I am one who also doesn't think they are very attractive. I just check a lot of conventional boxes, plus some unique ones, traits I find to be overly objectified. I'm 5'9", keep my weight around 140 pounds for health reasons, so an average body type. I have red hair, freckles, and green eyes. Those are the overtly objectified traits in general. Personality-wise, I'm friendly and kind. I used to think people were just being nice or just perverted in my young adult years. I thought of myself as gangly and awkward. I'm now 42 and keep waiting to age out and become invisible. I so desire being unnoticed in a crowd. I go to extremes to be boring or strange or weird with my appearance and dress. I shave my hair every 3 to 4 years and avoid letting the sun bleach it to keep the red at bay. Even bald, I still get comments, compliments, and solicitations from men. I had a brain injury 19 years ago, and part of the side effects of that is I lost the part of you that cares what the outside looks like. I call my physical self a sausage casing or avatar. I don't feel like I'm what I look like. So being received well just because of my appearance makes me angry. Story 32. Not a perk, rather a side effect. I've noticed people are a lot quicker to label you something that makes you imperfect to them. Some people call me arrogant even though we've never shared a conversation. The silver line between confidence and arrogance gets more jaded. When dating, girls are quicker to call me a player or heartbreaker, which is an interesting topic of discussion in and of itself. Pretty privilege is real, of course, although I think it applies more to women. It happened to me before. One thing for sure is people will be sure to let you know of your looks often. Story 33. As someone who has experienced both sides, 100 plus pounds overweight, down to being at a normal weight, decently built for the average person with a bit of muscle and a firmer jawline, pretty privilege is definitely a thing. I was always outgoing and confident despite my slovenly appearance, but I went from basically being ignored by others to warm smiles and way more attention and acceptance from all the gender spectrum after I started taking care of myself. I started getting referred to as big guy or boss, despite my technically smaller size, and getting hit on way more frequently, though not always, by both men and women. Side note, experiencing unwanted attention gave me a lot more of an appreciation for what attractive females must go through on a daily basis. Story 34. I am average, maybe above average in certain crowds, and I look young for my age, late 30s. However, I've also been very overweight for most of my life. I lost over 100 pounds and am now sort of fit, and the difference in how I'm treated is absolutely wild and kind of heartbreaking. If I visibly need help with something in public, someone always stops to help. People in service positions treat me so kindly, make small talk, and give me free stuff and discounts. If I go to a bar where there are single straight men, I almost always get hit on. Men bump into me casually all the time now. People compliment me in the street. Being a person in public is infinitely easier now. I can't imagine how the really beautiful people among us are treated if just being sort of fit and having a good smile results in this much difference in my day-to-day life. Story 35. I went to Costco and the cashier wouldn't stop chatting me up and giving me compliments about my looks. I then forgot to scan the bottom of my cart, so I got a bunch of stuff for free. Went to a party and all the girls there were taking pictures with me and dragging me around to do stuff with them. I could go to a bar and chat up the bartender for an hour, or just sit in a random group of people and become the main attraction if there were women. Being attractive was great. Unfortunately, though, being attractive made me make a really bad decision that led to a deep depression, and now I'm like 100 pounds overweight. You genuinely do notice the difference in treatment. Story 36. I'm a male resident doctor, so naturally, I mess up with the nurses, majority female from time to time. I always thought they were so nice and understanding about it until I saw my female colleague, same year as mine, do the exact same mess up with the exact same team of nurses. Oh my god, they were so unpleasant with her. I actually told her that I had done the same thing as her and how differently they had treated me. She was so nonchalant about it and said, "Of course, what did you expect? Did you really think they would be mean to a guy that looks like you?" I was baffled. Story 37. I know this is immensely stupid now, but when I was younger, I would always go into central London without any money to get back home, because I always knew someone would pay for my train back. Now it's mainly the occasional free stuff, people being nice to me, compliments, etc. Also, when I go to gigs or concerts, they usually assume I'm on the guest list. Also, getting accepted into members-only clubs and apps like Raya without referrals. Also, I'm one of the people who was ugly in school and turned hot when I got older. The difference in treatment is stark and enough to mess you up. Story 38. I've had the interesting opportunity to be thin and beautiful and then fat, like 300 plus pounds fat. While I'm objectively still pretty, most people cannot look past my body to care about my face. When I was smaller, men would trip over themselves to do anything for me. Starting at like 14, which was obviously creepy, but I thought it was just kindness. Any job I ever applied for, I got. People gave me free stuff all the time. People would hold doors for me or help me anytime I was trying to do anything, like putting luggage in the overhead bin. But as I got fatter, people stopped being nice. People avoid eye contact, won't sit next to me, don't talk to me, etc. Even to the point where a man closed a door he just went through while making eye contact with me, instead of holding it while I was pushing my baby in a stroller. If I'm completely honest though, I don't miss it like you'd think you would. All these kinds of things, from men, came with the unspoken feeling of the fact they were only doing it because they wanted something from me. Well, obviously that's not the case 100% of the time, but when a leering dude gives you a job, you know you're in for a tough ride. But the best perk was always being told yes when others were told no. Story 39. I noticed two things. Freebies and people showing you their best sides. I get free stuff a lot. On a good day, I'm above average in looks. There have been so many times I go to a store to buy something and they just give it to me without paying, or if they make something extra, they give it to me. Both men and women treat me well and show me their representative when meeting them. Even after knowing a person for a long time and never really meet their other side that others may encounter from them, it's hard to explain. This one is a privilege only because I typically don't have to interact with the mean side of people. Story 40. Former fat kid here, lost all the weight at age 20 and got in shape. I noticed opportunities came my way easier professionally. Dating became easier, and I noticed I just had a lot less negative interactions in life in general, like bumping into someone and being shouted at versus smiled at. If you're attractive, it's flirting. If you're not, you're being a creep. So naturally, I was terrified to flirt for a long time. I actually regressed socially for a while because of the realization that people treat you differently. Now I've just kind of accepted that it is what it is, but I definitely try to be nice to everyone as a result. Story 41. Number 1, people are generally nicer. At restaurants, stores, or events, I've had staff go out of their way to be friendly or give me small freebies. Extra fries, free drinks, that sort of thing. One time a barista gave me a free muffin just because. No promo, no loyalty card, nothing. She just said, "It looks like you need a little extra today." I wasn't even sad, but I didn't complain. Number 2, I get away with more, socially. I've said awkward or borderline dumb things at parties that probably would have gotten someone else weird looks, but instead I get awkward laughs or teasing smiles. Have you ever had to tell a hopelessly dumb, awkward, or nerdy friend, thank God you're cute? Yeah, I'm the friend that gets told that. Number 3, people immediately assume I'm competent or trustworthy before I even prove it. I've had strangers ask me to watch their stuff for their kids in public. Number 4, been pulled over more than once, never been ticketed a single time. Number 5, if the professor is a woman or gay, they build rapport with me pretty easily. Story 42. I used to be hot when I was younger, and for example, I once showed up to the end of a line for a sold-out concert. The line was 4 to 6 hours long. I was pulled out with my best friend and let in without paying for the $160 ticket. I never actually paid an entry fee anywhere. I would order a drink at the bar and the bartenders would just wink and never ask me to pay. I would get my hair done or buy a dress, and instead of paying for it, they just ask me if they can take a photo of me for their socials and then give it to me for free. Crap like that. I never appreciated it. I'm 31 now and don't party anymore, but still notice how I have to grab someone's attention instead of it automatically being given to me. It's always made me mad, but now I just don't benefit from the privilege of being young. Story 43. I've gotten tons of free food and drinks. At clubs and bars, I only pay for my first drink. My friends love going out with me because I get free drinks for them as well. I once ran up over $500 in a guy's tab and he just paid without a word. Also, the extra meat and avocado in my food are always appreciated. On the downside, I cannot go on walks alone around my neighborhood without getting honked at or pestered. I've had men pull over to try to get or give me their number, which is scary and uncomfortable. When I go out alone to the clubs or bars or leave my group, I get objectified. I get followed when I go out shopping alone. Sometimes I wish I had an invisibility cloak so I can just live my life without the stares or objectifying. Story 44. I'm a decent looking guy, but a couple of years ago, I bought a really nice cowboy hat in an estate sale. It fits me or my build really well. The first time I wore it out, immediate attention from women. Men giving me nods of approval, people going out of their way to talk to me. I started wearing it every day and people go out of their way to interact with me. Some places throw in freebies, others offer me deals on things. The main perk is the confidence boost. Men look at me and see a hardworking man. Women look at me and see, ooh, a cowboy. Moral of the story, sometimes the right clothing or accessory can push you over the edge into hot territory. Story 45. I've got several. Whether some of these are perks are varied. Occasionally get free food. I'll order a smoothie and get told it's on the house. Get free cookies, extra plates of food, free drinks at bars, for bartenders or other patrons. One time I was just walking by a food stall and the worker waved me down to give me free food because they thought it was beautiful. I get offers to work at places, usually high-end retail, or told I should apply based on my appearance and style. Almost every person I meet comments on my appearance in a positive way, and I'm not referring to catcalling, though that has happened as well. This ranges from my partner's family telling him I'm beautiful and shopping me around events to show other people I'm pretty, meeting friends of friends who will tell me straight off the bat I'm very pretty, and when I was a child, people telling my parents I should act or model or do pageants. This happens almost every time. Random compliments from strangers happen all the time, especially from older women. I'll walk down the street and another girl or woman will stop me to compliment my hair or outfit, etc. My partner was in shock when we first started going out because it just happened so often and regularly. It's very easy for me to make friends. People will almost always be warm and kind and excited to include me, and even when they may not necessarily like me right away, I've been able to win them over and they'll usually confess they thought I would be stuck up or they were jealous. Free invites to parties that usually require cover. Ability to skip the line in most nightclubs back when I was going a lot when I was single. Access to backstage areas for DJ booths. Invite to meet the DJ or invitations to sit at tables. Every time I would go out, a man will approach me and ask for my number or try to start up a conversation. It doesn't matter if my partner is there or not, or if I'm in a group of girls, if it's a casual bar or a nightclub. People will assume the best of me and my personality, though it does sometimes go the other way. Example, when I first got hired at my firm, I had a teammate who seemed skeptical or disliked me right off the bat. This teammate was not conventionally attractive and had a hard time getting along with other coworkers, so nobody would invite her out, although I would always pass the invitation to her. I wanted to be friends, or at least friendly. I was invited to happy hours immediately, considered popular and well-liked by executives, and other coworkers would always say teammates were jealous of me and trying to bully me. It even escalated to HR. I'd been there for a month. Other women will try to appeal to me and impress me, which is amazing because I love making female friends, but this occasionally happens to the detriment of other friends. One time, a girl we were hanging out with brought a cake for another friend's birthday and excitedly shared it was my favorite type of cake, but also is the birthday girl's favorite type of cake. People will identify me and look out for me. I once got annoyed at a partner in a nightlife area. I went outside the bar and people immediately were asking me if I was okay. I wasn't intoxicated but looked upset. When my ex approached me, a literal mob of people swarmed up to protect me. I had to tell these strangers he was my boyfriend before they let him speak to me. Other times, bartenders or other patrons will let me know if someone is eyeing me and ask if I don't want the attention or not, or intervene in conversations to make sure I'm okay or not being bothered. Story 46. When I was young, I was definitely very attractive, but at the time I didn't know it, nor did I appreciate it. I see pictures now and I'm so mad that I didn't know I was that attractive. But my experience was more of a, why are those people staring at me? Am I not dressed appropriately for this occasion? Is my hair doing something weird? I was always uncomfortable in social situations. I also suspect that sometimes people are mean. I'm now postmenopausal, gray, and grandmotherly. I experience none of this anymore. I have more friends and people generally comment on how nice I am, so there's that side of it as well. Story 47. There have been quite a few times when I go out to eat with friends that the waiter focuses on me in that group. I've gotten discounts before too. I once did 20 over the speed limit and got pulled over. I was fully braced for the worst, but the cop came back after running my cards and said he was letting me go without even so much as a warning. He suggested that I must have come off the interstate and missed the speed limit change, which was true, but I didn't have a chance to explain myself before he said that. Lots of folks are nice to me and will go out of their way for random acts of kindness. Strangers wait a bit longer to hold doors open for me, and taller folks help me grab items off the top shelf. I was formerly a bigger girl. Back when I was heavier, I never really experienced any of this, and certainly not to this degree. Ironically, the bigger I was, the more people couldn't see me. Story 48. As the designated ugly friend growing up, I have many examples of my friends' privileges. My friends got free food all the time, something I was most jealous of.
If they asked guys to stop pestering or tickling them, they'd actually stop and respect her. Not me. They would tickle me for this reason, they'd tickle the hottie just to touch her. I get men coming up to me every single week asking for my friends' numbers and interests. I had a friend getting her luxury facial wash and creams for free because she modeled for the company once. I had a friend get us into a rock show for free. They really almost didn't let me in until my hot friend defended me. As a duff, I've never had someone buy me a drink until I was already in a long-term committed relationship and it was my 30th birthday. I think he just felt bad for me being mostly alone on my birthday, all while my friends would be asked left and right what they're drinking. You realize pretty privilege is very much a thing when you're not the pretty one. What are the downsides of being attractive or pretty or handsome? I think being treated as competition was the hardest for me. It's hard to be friends with women who have significant others because a lot of times they get extremely jealous and controlling whenever I come into the picture. It's like I'm immediate competition, sometimes even when I don't really even engage with a girl. I don't mean anything by befriending women. I just really good at making friends with them because I was raised by women. My best friend, who is a woman, was dating a guy who was super put off by me when we first met. I liked her so much as a friend that I worked on him to build his trust. Eventually, he and I worked together on some projects, and I went to their wedding, and it's all good now. We hang out as couples. He's a bit of a goofball, but I love her, and I'm glad she's happy. He was well worth the effort of making him comfortable. She's also a very attractive woman and completely in my strike zone for what I look for in women. I've literally never once made a move on her and never would, but I get it. A good-looking guy starts coming around to hang out with your lady, and you have to fight for what's yours. I totally respect him for that. Story 2. My brother is a classically attractive man, well over 6 feet tall and always had women interested in him. Could have dated half the girls in high school and college, but he didn't. He was always interested in having a real connection with someone, so the few times he was involved with someone, it was because she got to know him as a person. He's been off the market for 20 years now, happily married with kids. My sister-in-law is an incredible woman who got to know him as a person, and they connected beyond surface-level attraction. I say all this to say you might have a better shot than you think because you know this guy beyond just his looks. He might be like my brother and want something real, to be with someone who sees him for who he truly is. When you do ask him out, don't just talk about his looks. Maybe don't even mention them. Talk about everything else. How he makes you laugh or smile, the little things you notice he does, and the deeper person you see beyond the surface. Try giving him a genuine compliment that could only come from someone who knows him. Show him that you appreciate him for who he is and demonstrate genuine appreciation for his passions and what makes him light up. Show him that he is truly seen by you. That goes a long way. Now, I can't guarantee how it will turn out. Hopefully he feels the same way, but in the end, you'll regret not taking a chance at love more than you'll regret putting yourself out there. Story 3. I was friends with a woman who was a 12 out of 10. For example, 2 men once slowed their cars and gestured for her to pull over, shouting for her number. We went absolutely nowhere without men visibly reacting when she walked in. This meant constant, aggressive, and menacing pestering. It colored every single interaction she had with men, no matter what was happening. She was their wish fulfillment, their dream girl, or a vain witch. Every man thought they were in their own indie film and that she needed to cooperate. She woke up to a guy she had been starting to date, taking photos of her while she was sleeping to send to his friends. He explained that she should take it as a compliment, that it was literally impossible for him not to do it. She caught men filming and taking photos of her in public all the time. She was stalked. She was mistreated more than once by men who assumed that was what she was about or that she was basically a non-playable character or a doll. They would get impatient with her for being unclear or teasing, which, upon being challenged, they indicated was just her being attractive and vaguely pleasant near them. They believed she would change her mind because women are so inconsistent. She had more than one man interrupt her at restaurants to aggressively pester her or try to sit down with her. I was present once when we had to call for help. The men who were with that seemingly professional man just laughed and watched. He praised her for being a sweet girl while she smiled nervously and told him to back off. She could trust no one's intentions. Women were sometimes quite hostile as they felt she was eliciting attention on purpose and she didn't wear a cardboard box. She had been taught to be pretty, so she tried to be pretty. With no sense of safety and very little sense of value outside of men telling her she was good to look at. Her boyfriends would mistreat her by telling her she wasn't worth going out with if she didn't look her best all the time, then degrade her for getting men's attention. She also had pretty privilege. She could be quite rude or entitled sometimes because she was accustomed to not being called out for it. She had only recently grasped that some people are involuntarily fat and that it wasn't a character failure, as her sister had lupus. Some pretty people could probably harm someone and walk away. She received random freebies, job offers, promotions, and raises. She was always invited anywhere, and few could say no to her. People assumed she was the funniest and most interesting person in any room. Despite our denying it, most of our society still operated on the ancient Greek idea that the gods gift beauty to the virtuous and intelligent, the worthy. We see beautiful people and think, wow, I just feel such a connection to them mentally and emotionally. I can tell they're interesting. Buddy, they're just hot. Her behavior eventually ended the friendship, but no one deserves the rest.
Story 4. If you are a woman, especially if you live in an urban environment, you'll receive a metric ton of unwanted attention. This includes stares, catcalls, and being physically accosted. It will be frequently annoying and sometimes frightening. This can start at a very young age and can be overwhelming. Strangers, strange men will feel perfectly comfortable making comments about your body to you on the street. My story is not even remotely unique. Ask the women you know when this started happening to them. Every woman I know has similar stories. Story 5. Many people will hate you for no reason, even before they talk to you. Their judgment is either positive or negative, but it's mostly negative, depending on their society, mindset, or personal experience. You can't just pass someone without them judging you. From women, because comparison is taught from the beginning, they can hate you if they're not secure with themselves, which many people are not. So it's hard to make friends, or you will have to try extra hard to show that you have no bad intentions. For men, it's not possible to be friends with them in most cases without them being attracted to you. You learn that from experience and then decide to stay away. The same gesture or conversation with an average-looking girl would be considered friendly in his mind, but for you, it's suddenly flirting. There are many more examples, but these are the basics that shape our experience in the world. People don't see my brain or talent before my face, even if I want them to. Story 6. People downplay your concerns out of their own insecurities, especially if you're a guy. Genuine friends are harder to find. You don't know if they're really there for you, secretly want to sleep with you, or using you for social status. If you have improved your appearance, your inner circle won't like it, contrary to popular belief. You just challenge them while improving yourself. If you're an introvert, it's uncomfortable as people stare all the time, sometimes much longer than usual. They also mistake your shyness for arrogance, making social interactions an uphill battle. If you're a guy, mistreatment from women is very much a real thing, but gets downplayed by society due to gender dynamics. People will think you're dumb, and if you show any sort of intelligence, you'll be identified as a threat. People will actively seek your flaws and point them out as often as possible. They will also use them against you when needed and gossip to others about them. Story 7. When I was much skinnier, I had a very hard time being friends with girls. Jealousy, drama, and plain nastiness were a daily thing with other women. Most girls were just awful to me from the moment we met. Naturally, I became very close friends with guys who are still my best friends to this day, and I still find it easier to talk to men than to women. My bachelorette party consisted of more guys than girls. I still like girly things, and all the guys went along with the pool floaties, face glitter, and pink decor. I only made 2 female friends in my 30s, and that was new territory for me. It was amazing to have female friends who actually wanted to lift you up rather than put you down. Story 8. Often guys will assume she's already taken, so they never ask her out. People assume naturally beautiful girls get asked out all the time, but that's not the case for many. They are usually some of the loneliest people I've met. Other women will try to humble her, literally forming groups against her out of jealousy. She's a perceived threat, so they'll talk down to her, spread lies about her, and exclude her. This happens to exceptionally pretty girls. Some people will assume she's rude for simply existing. She doesn't speak to you and is just minding her business. They'll think she must be a witch. People project their preconceived assumptions about people who like her onto her. She's objectified all the time. If men do give her attention, it's not the genuine, innocent kind. Story 9. I'll try to give you a realistic answer as a man who is above average in looks and attractiveness. I didn't really realize I was attractive or handsome until after college. This is when you're truly thrown to the world on your own. There are pros that you will slowly notice, such as people being friendly toward you far more often than they are with your average friend, and women coming up to you to chat in public settings. However, there are also cons, such as women who grab you inappropriately, mostly older women or socially awkward people who admit their feelings to you in uncomfortable situations. Most of the time, you can play these situations off or have a serious conversation, but I usually try to keep my distance. You will occasionally get girls who will flirt with you when their boyfriend isn't around. This has never been attractive to me. I can easily see through them, nor am I going to do that to another man. I'll tell him if it's constant, though most of the time the partner won't listen and will get aggressive, which is not worth my time. Some people say that being attractive makes you seem less intelligent, but I don't see that with male attractiveness. I honestly see the opposite effect. Others say it puts the spotlight on you more often in social settings, which I could agree with, but I think you get used to it and learn how to play it off more easily. Story 10. Honestly, when I was little, my family used to tell me how pretty I was. From the old photos I've seen for myself back then, I literally could have been one of those kids you might see on a 90s magazine cover. My little sister was born at about 4 years old. She had dark olive skin with black hair, unlike me, who was more pale. At some point, my mom started comparing us in looks. She obviously preferred my sister, and although she'd say I was pretty or whatever, I immediately recognized it as a lie. I became skeptical every time people said anything nice about my looks, as their eyes would usually dart between my sister and me like they were comparing us. Eventually, over time, the comments gone down and were more focused on my sister. Flash forward to the present. My sister has moved out and now lives in a different state. Suddenly, I started getting those compliments again, and I realized it's because she's no longer here to be compared to. Recently, I fought with a family member about her complimenting me, as I don't believe they're compliments anymore. She made it seem like I'm the one who is delusional and that I'm somehow damaged because I just can't accept a compliment. Just thinking about it annoys me. So, in short, the downside to being attractive is that you will always end up being compared to someone who's just as or more attractive than you. Story 11. If you, as an attractive person, don't like something about the way you look, whether it's your hair, body, or clothing, people will often say things like, "You always look good, don't worry about it." Then they'll criticize themselves by comparing their looks to yours. Everyone is unique and can interpret how they look differently, and comments like these almost undermine what the attractive person is worried about. Attractive people get treated better and usually know it. This can be awkward and isolating, especially in large groups. For example, people will hold doors for you but not your friends, or every waitress seems thrilled to serve you but doesn't look as happy to take others' orders. As an attractive person, people may assume you need an attractive partner. Thanks to the media, people may assume your life is good, that you have more money, or that you're superficial or materialistic. Story 12. This is specific to being neurodivergent and attractive, but people think it's okay for me to be an idiot sometimes. I know some people think it's a win, but it's not. I have autism and ADHD, so admittedly I do some dumb things without realizing it or thinking. I'm allowed to be dumb, and people expect me to be dumb, all because of my appearance. If I'm smart, it causes anger or makes people jealous because I've had someone say I've got the whole package and must not actually be autistic. It's as if my disabilities are nullified if I'm pretty, but if they do show up, it's okay because at least you're pretty. I'm constantly getting backhanded compliments because of this. Story 13. Being in a retail job that requires me to be outgoing and friendly to people gives them the impression that I'm interested in them and want to be hit on. Asked on dates or asked for my number, even though they can clearly see that I'm treating everyone else of every gender and age the exact same way. Having people not like you without getting to know you because they feel threatened or feel like you're a bad person somehow because of how you look is a downside. While working in a corporate environment, I had several coworkers over the years who were rude to me or acted hostile towards me, but didn't know a thing about me. In each of those cases, over time, we became friends, and each of them told me they thought I was stuck up, snobby, or thought I was better than everyone else based on my good posture, resting wish face, and introvertedness and shyness. Probably the most hurtful thing is having long-term friendships with people that you grow to love and trust, and then finding out that they were only pretending to be your friend and they drop you once they realize you aren't going to sleep with or date them. This leads you to not trust people and always question their motives. Being stared at and gawked at while just trying to run errands or live your life is also a downside. I absolutely hate being the center of attention, but being tall, and especially if I wear anything feminine, I deal with unwanted attention. I've had bad experiences at restaurants and bars and had the man I was there with blame me for altercations that came about because someone else was staring at me. I purposely dress down when I'm not feeling great or in a mood and just want to get in and out of wherever I'm going without being noticed or approached. Story 14. People expect things from me that I'm not okay with. If I made friends with a guy or a girl, they'd assume I had hidden motives beyond friendship and was obviously just trying to get lucky. They think I believe I can get away with anything even though I've spent my entire life learning to be accountable. They say I didn't earn what I have or work for it. It's mental cruelty from people, whether they do it deliberately or not. Your friends end up in competition with you and start to believe you want their partner. They're surprised that you're just friends and genuinely care. My boss secretly hated me. I'm always alone, yet when I go out I get attention, when all I really wanted was to be with one person. Story 15. Consistently downplaying your negative feelings. People might dismiss or your non-tragic negative feelings or depression because they think, at least you're hot, treating you like competition. Other people may see you as a threat or competition. Assuming you'll hurt them, people often assume you'll hurt them if they get close to you. Assuming arrogance. If you keep to yourself, people might assume you're arrogant. Presuming you're promiscuous. People will assume you're an F-boy if you're a man or a witch if you're a woman. Constant gossip. Other people will constantly talk about you for no reason, also known as living in their minds rent-free. Disappointment and flaws. Others get greatly disappointed when you show a flaw. There are, of course, many others. Story 16. I've become more attractive as I've gotten older, and I've noticed that older women at the workplace tend to target younger, pretty girls. They spread gossip, enforce rules more strictly, and are constantly observing and watching for you to mess up. When you're attractive, it's like there's a spotlight on you. Sometimes that can be a good thing, but it's often negative because people are always watching you and sometimes take joy in your mistakes. You see this in pop culture all the time, with phrases like, she's hot but she's dumb, or she's hot but shallow. People love to find anything they can about you that will make you look bad so they don't have to feel bad about themselves. Story 17. I work with a woman who's gorgeous without even trying. She's been married since she was 17 to her high school sweetheart and has never dated anyone else. We were talking about her disdain for grocery shopping, and she said she can't stand it because she can feel men and women staring at her, which makes her feel self-conscious. If I feel anyone looking at me for more than a few seconds, I assume I have food on my face or in my beard. I'm lucky to get a lingering look from a woman maybe once a year, and even that weirds me out a little bit. I'm a 6 out of 10 on the days I actually try to look nice. I can't imagine how much it would freak me out if that happened all the time. Story 18.
This treatment from men can put a target on your back. They'll say stupid or disgusting things to you, things that don't deserve a response, and then mistreat you for not responding. This is especially true if you're very young, less experienced or confident, or otherwise vulnerable or marginalized. I also suspect it's more of a problem in lower socioeconomic areas and that it plays out in different ways depending on your ethnicity. This kind of treatment can also make you afraid of losing your looks. When other people focus on your appearance too much, your beauty can become a core part of your identity and be too strongly tied to your self-worth. You might be afraid of being abandoned as you get older. It also creates a blind spot because people who are specifically horrible to women they perceive as unattractive don't do it in front of me. Story 19. I've learned that because some people think having good looks gets you everything, they don't take you seriously when bad things happen in your life. It's this really weird attitude of, well, you already have a perfect life, so this can't be that bad. And in reality, the only good thing you have is being pretty. It feels like it's easier for people to create a narrative about who you are in their head, and they're less likely to change it. I think it's hard for people to give sympathy to someone who is what they want. It's been hard for me to find people who are willing to sit with me in my grief or when bad things happen at work. But people are quick to point out when I get hit on at a bar and talk about I want a boyfriend. The strange thing is, all the people who say those things to me are the ones who quickly got into long-term relationships while I'm still single. I've never been able to understand how the focus has to be on men and attractiveness when there are so many other big things that are part of my life and personality that people don't want to acknowledge. Story 20. A few things I haven't seen mentioned as I'm not stunning, just conventionally attractive. There's a weird pressure from your family to date someone they also consider conventionally attractive. Otherwise, they think you're settling. There's also this expectation that your good looks as a woman will land you a wealthy husband, so if you aren't dating someone wealthy, you're also seen as settling. I also have this indescribable feeling where I'm both terrified of how people will treat me when I'm old and no longer attractive to most people. At the same time, I have this unbearable desire to already be old so that people will stop treating me the way they currently are. As a woman, I know men will stop being interested in having conversations with me when I'm older. I like having conversations with men as much as I like having them with women. They're interesting and provide a whole new lens to see the world through, but I also can't wait to never get guilted or coerced into a conversation with a man ever again. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 21. People assume you live a perfect life with no problems or internal struggles, but the reality is you're just like everybody else. The difference is you don't form meaningful, close relationships because people either want to get with you or people of the same gender are in subconscious competition with you and avoid you because they don't want their significant other to fall prey to your looks. So you end up feeling quite alone. This realization isn't from me, but from a very close female friend. I've witnessed her being stopped countless times by people of the opposite gender in the most normal places. Gas stations, convenience stores, parking lots, and so on. She only has 2 close friends, but she doesn't see them often because they live far away. When I say they're close, I mean they have a strong connection despite the distance. Story 22. I'm not going to pretend to know firsthand. Spent a long time being objectively ugly for masculine features outweighing feminine ones. I've since had surgery to correct that, but I can speak from a mix of limited experience and what my attractive friends have been through. You'll encounter a lot of people with ulterior motives. Someone you think is a cool friend might just want to have intimacy with you. It's hard to find authenticity. I do get stared at all the time. I'm seeing that as a common answer, but years of low self-esteem make me think it's because I look weird. Story 23. I went through this in reverse. I grew up as a morbidly obese, awkward kid with bad teeth and acne. In my late teens, my acne cleared and I got my teeth fixed, but I was still over 250 pounds and only 5 foot tall. I basically looked like a bowling ball. It took me about 2 years in my mid-20s to lose over 130 pounds. After that, I had several skin removal surgeries, and by my 30s, I looked completely different. But I'll never forget how drastically people treated me once my appearance changed and how long it took to adjust to new social norms and pretty girl dynamics. Dating was strange at first. Suddenly, guys I found attractive were interested in me, and I didn't have to pay for my own dinners or accept poor treatment, but I still had that old mindset. I'd half expect a guy to go to the bathroom and leave me with a bill. It took years to unlearn that. Female friendships were another curveball. I live in LA where everything is tied to the entertainment industry and there's a lot of emphasis on looks. Once I started looking better, I noticed pretty girls wanted to be around me, mostly to network and be part of big pretty girl groups. A lot of them weren't real friends, which confused me. Even more surprising was how nice women suddenly were. I'd expected jealousy, but instead strangers would strike up conversations with me in grocery stores, at the gym, anywhere. Before I felt invisible. Coworkers and strangers would whisper or giggle about me. Now these same people were complimenting my outfits or inviting me to parties after ignoring me for years. Men were different in another way. While more were willing to date me, I also ran into guys who seemed intimidated or who assumed I was a witch just because I was attractive. The comments I'd get were ridiculous. Things like, wow, you're actually smart. That's weird because you're hot. Or, you must be crazy or have daddy issues if you're single. You're too hot to be nice. Or just assumptions that I was a gold digger or a street worker. There were upsides, though. At a job where I'd been passed over for years, I finally got a raise and a promotion after my looks changed. Later, I quit and landed a role I wasn't even fully qualified for.
Something I'm certain never would have happened with my old face and body. It's a tough pill to swallow still. I've only been fit and good looking for about 10 years now. It terrifies me to ever go back. Changing my looks allowed me to get out of poverty and finally be able to make enough money to support myself. It's very scary to think about how my life would have been if I had never gotten healthy. Ultimately, it makes me incredibly sad to see how shallow and rude many of my colleagues are towards others who don't fit their attractiveness expectations. I've never witnessed so much entitlement in my life from people in my social network, and it makes me very uncomfortable. I do my best to speak up and stand up for others and not let overweight women get bullied. I'll keep working as hard as I can to make others feel seen and accepted. I'll never forget the pain I experienced. But even worse than that pain is the final realization of how I just shrugged it off because I assumed it was normal to be treated badly. It's truly depressing to realize that grown adults can still be so quick to judge and bully others who are less fortunate looking without even knowing their backstory. Story 24. People are either jealous of you or intimidated by you a lot of the time, both of which are barriers to connection. Objectification is also a thing. People see you as a prize to be won, something to conquer, a challenge to chase, or a status symbol to have in their arm. Unfortunately, people also make all kinds of assumptions about you and project their own issues onto you. It can be lonely. It can be exhausting to go out in public because all of the unwanted attention you get and the way people stare at you. People want things from you when you're attractive, usually your attention because it strokes their ego. For example, a person might think, oh, a pretty girl gave me 2 minutes of her time, therefore that must mean I'm interesting. People also tend to assume I'm flirting or trying to steal their man when I'm, in fact, just hot and talking. Story 25. I'm a tall, conventionally attractive man. When I was at my physical peak in my early to mid-20s, I was at a university where 2/3 of the students were women, at least in the areas I was studying. Over the course of a year, I got in shape. 6 months in, women started flirting with me, which was great. 6 months in, if I walked across the quadrangle where people were sitting and waiting between classes, I got enough casual stares that it started to trigger my social anxiety. I've even had female friends tell me that they were too intimidated by my looks to speak to me for months after we started interacting in hobby groups. My fiancée said the same, that it took her years to get up the nerve to flirt with me. She's attractive, but at least at the time didn't really see it in herself. I also found it easy to get casual things, but I've struggled to get women interested enough in my personality to date. My best friend at the time was a really good-looking Russian guy, and he had the same situation. Casual things were easy, but dating was hard. Getting easy casuals sound great, and for a little while, the novelty was fun, but being repeatedly told by women that they found me attractive but that my personality wasn't worth dating really messed me up a bit. I didn't date for a while, and then I started a relationship with someone I was already friends with. Story 26. Here are a few downsides. You're seen as a threat. Friends or potential friends might be scared you'll steal their girlfriends. People of the same gender may want to compete with you or use you to attract women. Your standards become very high. The dating pool shrinks and it can be hard to find a genuine connection. Very attractive women often want a rich husband or a bad boy and get too much attention themselves, which can be annoying. You're objectified. Women may only be interested in you for your looks and might assume you'll cheat. It can make you lazy. You might become lazy in approaching women because it's so easy. This can lead you to believe that all women are shallow, easy, or have no morals. I've had women chase me who had just had a baby with their boyfriend. It creates inappropriate situations. Women will flirt with you at inappropriate times, like at work or when their boyfriend or your girlfriend is present, which can lead to trouble. Story 27. While I agree that being attractive is generally a positive, the worst thing I can think of, based on my own experience and what others are saying here, is people forcing themselves on you. I'm sure it's a lot worse if you're a girl, but even as a guy, girls do that. The problem is, they often don't take no for an answer. You're probably seeing those videos where a girl asks a guy out, and when he refuses, she insults him or throws a drink at him. Story 28. The number of male family friends and acquaintances who think my being quiet and introverted also makes me low-hanging fruit and an easy mark to make a move on is something I dealt with, even though I'm in a relationship with a friend or relative. I also have to deal with hello hugs that last far too long, past the point of common politeness. It's like they don't want to break contact and have to physically pull myself away. And they put their hand on my shoulder and just start rubbing it as a continuation of their hello because they clearly don't want to break the contact. I'm not flirting with you. I'm just being polite. Story 29. You get a larger group of people you're not interested in trying to have intimacy with you. So you're in more awkward encounters than you would probably be in if you weren't good looking. Also feel like they get more brazen and cringy about it because they're nervous, at least the ones you wish wouldn't hit on you. I don't like letting people down and feel like a schmuck rejecting their advances, but I also don't want to get stuck with them not leaving me alone. So I have to make sure I'm not giving out any glimmer of hope. Story 30. People often tell me they're surprised to have a personality, that I'm funny or intelligent. They mean it as a compliment, but it's kind of annoying that others assume I lack depth due to my appearance. People also assume I'm mean or stuck up. In high school, people were always talking about how I was a pick-me because I would actually be interested in conversations with men. I have a lot of issues with girls my age because their boyfriends would give me unwanted attention. I never played into it and I would always tell them immediately, but I often got blamed for the whole ordeal anyway. Story 31. Hear me out. It's hard to tell if someone's uncomfortable or attracted to you. Also, I have no idea if women find me funny or if they're laughing because of my immaculate nose. The friend zone ratio is awful. The worst part is dealing with lots of people you don't find attractive or whose advances in attraction make you uncomfortable. I've been objectified since I was a teen. People talking about you like you're a mannequin at H&M is completely dehumanizing. Story 32. Dudes will hit on you even when you're clearly out with your partner. They try to shoot their shot anyway, which is weird. People will also hold doors open for you when you're halfway across the parking lot, so then you have to run to the door or continue to walk slowly while they stare at you. When you finally reach the door, they try to start a conversation. I also can't have my face as my Facebook profile picture because if I go on anime groups, I get inundated with dudes in my DMs. Just want to argue about anime and peace. I found a way around this by using an anime profile picture now, which I'd highly recommend. Story 33. Or people you're not interested in hit on you. I feel like I've been in more awkward interactions than I would have had if I was unattractive. But to be honest, most of these things don't outweigh the benefits. I really can't complain. People say that others think you're stuck up or arrogant just because you're good looking and quiet. While that's true, you also get way more chances than you would if you weren't. You have more opportunities to counteract the negative stuff. I do feel bad for people who aren't attractive. It would suck. My sibling got the short end of the stick, and I've seen the difference throughout the years in how people treat us. Story 34. Work ethic. It's more difficult to have a strong work ethic because you've been able to get away with doing less for most of your life. Relationships. People assume their significant other is into you just because they find you attractive. Success. If you're attractive and successful, people give you less credit for your hard work. Family. If you have a less attractive sibling, you worry about potential resentment or hurting their self-esteem from being compared to you. Safety. As a girl, you're more of a target. Anonymity, it's harder to just blend in. Your looks make you stand out. Story 35. I've been on dating apps on and off for years with a long span where I was in a long-term relationship. As AI has increased, my profile is more and more assumed to be some kind of bot or catfishing attempt by prospective partners. I know because they explicitly ask or make comments, or if we do meet up, I can see them braced for some kind of disappointment. I wonder how many people I've missed out on because I wrote them a comment and they wrote me off. I deleted my last profile to take a break over the summer, but I'm ready to try again. I plan on incorporating a video of me practicing at the bear and we'll see how that changes people's reactions and suspicions. Story 36. It's not the case today, but when I was a younger man in my 20s and early 30s, I got hit on a lot by older women. By older women, I mean lonely, stay-at-home types in their late 30s to late 40s with kids in school and a husband who traveled a lot for work. They didn't just come on to me verbally, but very physically. As a phone repairman and installer at the time, going into homes all day long, someone would be intoxicated on wine by noon and get very touchy. I've seen more than my share of women accidentally have their robes fall off. What makes it so bad is the risk. I had to learn fast to deny them with some flattery and not outright rejection. If I anger one, she could make up a story and it would be my word against hers. It happened to me twice early in my career. Saying, "I'm sorry, but I'm happily married and could lose my job," could hurt feelings quickly if she was intoxicated enough. But, ma'am, you're far too hot and out of my league. Besides, I don't think I could handle someone as beautiful as you. You look too hard to get over. It would make their day and they would usually put their clothes back on. Sometimes they just wanted to be flattered. I guess the jokes about a guy in a tool belt aren't all jokes. Story 37. I'm shy and a bit insecure around women, but they perceive it as arrogant and self-centered. I get rejected a lot and only the really crazy or promiscuous ones ask me out. Whenever I've asked them out, they reject me in a mean way, as if I was disrespecting them. Men usually hate me and sometimes act really aggressive towards me, especially if I'm around their girlfriends or in a situation where I'm close to a girl they like, such as at the gym or at work. I get hit on a lot by gay men. Even if they know I'm straight, they try to convince me. Married women want to use me to cheat on their husbands and then use me to tell them and make them jealous. It's brought a lot of negativity into my life and made my dating life a living hell. Story 38. Misinterpreted intentions. Girls automatically think I'm into them, even if I'm just talking to them. I don't try to flirt, but things I say can inadvertently cause them to get googly eyes. I get misinterpreted a lot. Unwanted assumptions. Random people dislike you or have preconceived notions about you. I was in a group of 4 people when I noticed one of the guys being kind of unpleasant around me. When we were talking, he just stood right in front of me, directly blocking me from the others in the group and behaved quite weirdly. Girls also automatically think I'm a player or have it easy. Self-image issues. I don't feel attractive, but people constantly tell me I'm handsome or that I could be in movies. Messes up my self-image and makes me feel like I'm living up to an impossible standard. Unwanted attention and trauma. I get hit on by gay men so much. Sometimes it's unnerving. I've been essayed in the past. That kind of experience caused me to become depressed and obese and honestly checked me out of experiences. I'm practically asexual. I used to be 300 pounds and lost 110 pounds, which caused me to get way more attention than I was used to. It's a very unnerving experience, especially since I grew up very shy and nerdy. Story 39. You never know if someone is interested in you as a person or for your looks, which would be devastating. Being treated differently by others, whether positively or negatively because you're attractive, can be very difficult. I think a lot of people would want to be treated based on who they are and how competent they are, rather than their attractiveness. I think that those of us who are not conventionally attractive sometimes miss these things and may react in not so nice ways, mentally or out loud, toward those who are conventionally attractive. We might dismiss their issues because we think they don't have it as hard as others in the same ways. At the end of the day, though, we all have issues and problems. We have to be able to extend ourselves a little bit further to see how others might have it. It's easy to say, but hard to do, but trying our best and practicing is all most people can really want or ask for. Story 40. I have to preface this by saying that I don't think I'm very attractive at all, but when I was in my teens and 20s, I used to get a lot of attention because I stood out in my country for being quite tall for a woman. I know it's not the same as being truly gorgeous, but I reckon the experience of attracting unwanted attention in every room you walk into is probably quite similar. I used to be more outgoing, but over time it made me quieter. I've grown to dread being the center of attention, anywhere at any time. That was just for literally being tall. I can't imagine how it traumatizes actual beautiful people. Story 41. After leaving school, I went to college and did some modeling. It involved wearing expensive clothing for catalogs. I often got to work with other pretty girls who were also modeling for catalogs. Most of the girls often wore expensive, name-brand clothes. They couldn't understand why I only had store-branded clothing for myself. My mother always told me the quality was no better and was often made in the same factories. Sometimes I thought it was more about the labels than the clothes. Story 42. From the point of view of becoming attractive after not being attractive, you lose a lot of faith in other people's judgment. This is particularly painful with those you considered wise or friends. In case you're wondering, I used to be a well-kept but hunchback young computer nerd with a zero sense of fashion style. Then I started a well-paying career where I had to maintain a dress code, and at the same time, a decade of hunching over a keyboard finally caught up with me. So I started going to the gym to fix my upper back pain. Within a year of casual gym attendance, I had fixed my bad posture and outgrew most of my old wardrobe with muscle. I replaced my clothes with business casual attire. About a quarter of my social circle started openly hating me. Regrettably, I used to call some of those people friends. Another quarter started paying a lot more attention to me and wanted to be closer to me. This was particularly disillusioning with women who previously told me that I was a great guy, but there was no spark and that we should just be friends. Now I knew exactly what spark they were talking about. I'm not going to lie, before this change, I 100% fell for the social meme that women are less shallow than men and are above putting as much emphasis on such vain things as beauty, and that it's what's on the inside that counts. That 180-degree flip just for fixing my outward appearance was world-crushing. Luckily, the rest of my social circle stayed the same, so it's not all bad. Don't take this as some misanthropic rant about the decay of humanity. Story 43. Sometimes I feel like I'm one of those optical illusion pictures that can look like a snowy bunny or an ugly duckling. That being said, the most irritating thing is having people you don't know yelling at you from across the street or random guys pulling up next to you in a car trying to pick you up. Once I was biking and this guy saw me and fully put his hand out, almost clotheslining me to get me to stop. Other than that, it's that everybody assumes you get all this free stuff or help because you're attractive. It's frustrating because it can mean you get overlooked since everyone assumes you already have help. Also, even if I want to, I can never accept offers of free things or favors because I prefer to pay or trade for what I want and need. Inevitably, about 95% of the time, those people doing the gifting or favors want something in exchange, just not anything I'm willing to offer. They just want leverage over you. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. Catch you in that video.